Phoenix Nights. Chapter 881. There were 4 diagrams at the corner of the cultivation room. 3 of them were complete, and 1 was incomplete. At the same time, they were even more complex. Dongbu Shuiying naturally focused on comprehending the first diagram, which he could slightly understand. This is an incomplete absolute art that is related to the void. The 3-dimensional array diagram in front of Dongbu Shuiying had many threads dancing. The array diagram was becoming more complex and exquisite. This first diagram requires an extremely deep understanding of the void. But I am a void walker, and most primal chaos giants cannot compare to me in this aspect. This was the truth. Some primal chaos giants cultivated the devourer class system, some cultivated the bloodline system, and some cultivated the ancient cultivation system. Their understanding of the void was indeed very low. The reason why they could tear a time-space tunnel in the sacred world was because their law domain could form a miniature cosmos. Under the miniature cosmos domain, their control of the void was extremely strong. That was why they could reach this stage. It was not because they had a profound understanding of the void. But the void walker lineage was different. This lineage cultivated by absorbing the primal chaos void energy. The walker's hidden secret was a cultivation technique that allowed one to have a deeper understanding of the void. The more one cultivated it, the deeper one's understanding of the void would be, and the stronger their control would be. Thus, these 4 diagrams left behind by Emperor Julian might have a high threshold, but Dongbu Shuiying soon delved into it. This? It is actually from a different direction? As Dongbu Shuiying gradually comprehended it, he began to feel astonished. It is actually the complete opposite of the Void Walker system? The Void Walker system was considered to be a complete control of the void. And this diagram in front of him seemed to be dissecting the void, and was continuously researching the smallest structure of the void. The smallest structure of the void? Dongbu Shuiying pondered. 1. He was also observing the void. The seemingly empty space in front of him was rapidly expanding under his observation. Magnifying, countless surging energy appeared in the void. This was the world energy that permeated the entire place. This energy was formed from countless tiny particles. They were like porridge, and they densely covered every single part of the void. Magnify again. Dongbu Shuiying delved deeper into it. Hua! The countless particles that were originally very densely packed together now looked as big as a planet in his eyes. The distance between these particles was also very large, and it was completely empty. Bigger! Dongbu Shuiying stared at the empty space between the countless particles. According to the first of the 4 diagrams left behind by Emperor Julian, he had to study the smallest structure of the void. Dongbu Shuiying tried his best to observe, but he could not go any deeper. To be able to observe to this extent, it was already considered that his control over the void was extremely high. Looks like I'll have to make use of the profoundness of this painting. Dongbu Shuiying studied the painting attentively. Time seemed to pass very quickly while he was comprehending. Dongbu Shuiying did not know how much time had passed. Diagrams kept appearing in his eyes, and they were getting more and more abstruse. Hua! Under the observation of Dongbu Shuiying's eyes, even though the distance between the countless heaven and earth energy particles was huge previously, it was completely empty, and he could not see anything. But at this moment, this empty space was magnified rapidly. Actually, rather than saying that he was observing with his eyes, it was because after comprehending the painting, his soul's perception had gotten deeper. What his soul could perceive was equivalent to what his eyes could see. The distance between the countless particles had already become boundless. Dongbu Shuiying could vaguely see a blurry existence within. It was as though it was a boundless black cloth. The void was essentially a boundless black cloth. That's not right. I have yet to fully comprehend this painting. Clearly, my understanding of the void is not deep enough. Dongbu Shuiying continued to comprehend. At this moment, he was a little agitated. He could vaguely feel that he was touching upon some unknown and mysterious side of the world. There was passion. Dongbu Shuiying put in all his effort to comprehend the void. After an unknown period of time, He was stuck so many times that he had to switch back to researching the walker's hidden secret. He wanted to gain some insights from the walker's hidden secret before trying to comprehend the first painting. Unknowingly, his comprehension of the walker's hidden secret had already reached the 40th level. It was too difficult to raise it any further. From the 40th level to the 41st level was a qualitative improvement after stepping into the primal chaos realm. Hence, the profoundness of the array diagram of the walker's hidden secret had also undergone a qualitative change. Hong, because his understanding of the void was sufficiently high. And because his comprehension ability was extremely high. With the guidance of Emperor Julian's complete first painting, in addition to his surging passion, Dongbua Shuang finally saw the light and completely comprehended the first painting. Hong. Just like how an ordinary mortal could see further with a pair of binoculars, Dongbua Shui Ying's understanding of the void became deeper after comprehending the first painting. Hua. Originally, the void in his eyes was extremely small. Now, he could see a blurry and boundless black cloth. At this moment, this black cloth rapidly became clearer under his observation. Furthermore, it was magnified by more than 100 million times. Suddenly, Dongbua Shuang saw many densely packed black particles. These black particles formed many layers of black cloth. Many layers of vast and boundless black cloth were stacked on top of each other, forming the core existence of the void. Amen? Dongbua Shuang vaguely understood with a single glance. Teleportation, tearing out a time-space tunnel. Actually, they should be formed by relying on this core black cloth. It's just that in the past, he knew how to use it, but he did not understand the fundamental reason. Those primal chaos giants purely relied on the miniature cosmos domain to forcibly control the void. Like the previous Dongbua Shuang, he relied on his overall control of the void. Even if he comprehended the laws and profound mysteries of the Tao of Void, he could only control the laws and profound mysteries. But he did not truly discover that the laws and profound mysteries were actually controlling these black cloth. These black particles. Dongbua Shuang looked at the countless black particles that formed the black cloth. From what he could see, every single black particle was several times bigger than a watermelon in the eyes of ordinary people. These black particles were not solid. Instead, they were like spheres condensed from black fog. At the center of these black fog spheres, there was a dark hole. It was like a passage that led to an unknown place. This void is extremely small. Where does the hole at the center of these black particles lead to? Dongbua Shuang felt puzzled and nervous. He was clear how difficult it was to observe the whole of these black particles. The difficulty of this first diagram left behind by Emperor Julian was not any weaker than the second style of the Dark World, the Sky Punishment Edge. Because of the Void Walker lineage's understanding and control of the Void, he had cultivated the Walker's hidden secret to the 40th level. With this as his foundation. Furthermore, even with the complete first diagram left behind by Emperor Julian, he still spent 60 million years before grasping it. Let's see where it leads to. Dongbua Shui Ying's perception permeated through the whole of the black particles. Chapter 882. At the center of the sphere where the black fog condensed, there was a dark hole that seemed like a passage. When Dongbua Shui Ying's perception permeated in, he could not help but tremble. "Oh my God!" Dongbua Shuang muttered to himself. He was stunned. He was stunned. Even with his current heart realm, he was completely stunned at this moment. Even if he saw Emperor Julian reviving and the death of Sacred Master, he would at most be shocked and not completely stunned. But at this moment, what his perception saw through the black particle hole had completely stunned him. This was an existence that was hard to describe. Shui Ying's perception was barely able to observe it through the hole. At the same time when he observed it, because his perception had touched this region, he could naturally see the boundless region. He saw many other holes leading to this place. Through those holes, Dongbua Shuang could see other regions of this palace. There were many halls, and there were treasures hidden in those halls. Even the place where that stooped puppet life form usually stayed. Furthermore, outside the palace, on the vast 9-cloud great land, Dongbua Shui Ying's perception could see through the indescribable region. Through those holes, he could see the cities on the nine-cloud great land. He could even see the endless primal chaos void beyond the nine-cloud great land. The further he was, the further the hole was from him. He could barely see it. 7-star oceanic sacred world. Dongbua Shuang could see it too. Even though the 7-star oceanic sacred world was very far from him, because the sacred world was too big, there were many holes leading to it. Through those holes, he could vaguely see the vast 7-star oceanic sacred world. Dongbua Shuang even understood in his heart. As long as he could connect two holes together to form a passage, he could directly travel from one to the other. For instance, he could directly travel from the 9-cloud great land to the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world. I can do this? Dongbua Shuang felt startled. Even the majority of cosmos gods could not penetrate through such a great distance. Usually, only a few ancient cultivators like Inquisitive Sky Hall Master and Ancestor Desert could do it. This was the talent of ancient cultivators. There was no point in being envious. Be that as it may, Dongbua Shuang was like the Inquisitive Sky Hall Lord, Ancestor Desert, and other ancient cultivators. He could connect any two particle holes to form a passage to a faraway place. However, there is an invisible barrier around Emperor Julian's cave mansion. Dongbua Shuang noticed it as well. An invisible barrier enveloped all the corresponding black particles in this cave abode. He could not connect to the particle voids outside at all from inside the cave abode, which meant that neither Patriarch Desert nor the Lord of Inquisitive Sky could enter Emperor Julian's cave abode. Inside Emperor Julian's cave abode, if the golem creature didn't voluntarily send them out, they wouldn't be able to leave. You're right. For me to be able to do this, it's also because I've learned the first of the 4 diagrams. Emperor Julian's attainments in this aspect definitely far surpass mine. Dongbua Shuang thought. His cavern dwelling even has the 3 fire prison realms cauldron, and Sacred Master should want to get it. Yet no one has managed to bring it away. Clearly, it is an extremely difficult task to find this place and enter. Dongbua Shui Ying's conjecture was indeed true. Emperor Julian was ranked at the 2nd level amongst final realm existences. In terms of attainments in the void, he was much higher than Sacred Master. Even though Sacred Master was the strongest, it did not represent that he was strong in every aspect. At least in the void aspect, Emperor Julian had surpassed him. He was even stronger than the current void primogenitor. Void primogenitor was currently at the 3rd level. Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, and the majority of cosmos gods were at the 3rd level. But what kind of place is the region that the black particle hole passage leads to? Dongbua Shuang was too startled. He was even stunned the first time he saw it. Because when his perception reached that region, he could see that the black particle holes were connected to that region, allowing him to see the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world. I do not know how fortunate I am to be able to obtain this incomplete absolute art created by Emperor Julian, allowing me to see that region that is hard to describe. Dongbua Shuang exclaimed. This feeling. It was like a 2-dimensional life form looking at a 3-dimensional world. A piece of paper was like a 2-dimensional world. The circles, triangles, squares and other 2-dimensional existences within this paper only had length and width. They did not have height. Hence, they could only see other 2-dimensional lifeforms around them. The moment their front was blocked, they would not be able to see the other 2-dimensional lifeforms behind them. But with height, they would be able to break through the 2-dimensional world and enter the 3-dimensional world. With height, they could look down on the entire piece of paper. They could see every single part of the paper. The further the distance, the more blurred it would be. This was what Dongbua Shuang felt at this moment. When he peered through the black particle holes in the void, he could see a region. This region was to the world Dongbua Shuang was at. It was like a 3-dimensional world to a 2-dimensional world. When Dongbua Shui Ying's perception entered this world, he could see every single part of the world he was at. 9-cloud great land, primal chaos void, and the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world. He could see them all. This was what it meant to be high up on the world level. Even powerful cosmos gods could not teleport through an ultra-long distance like Ancestor Desert or Inquisitive Sky Hall Master. Even though they were incomparably powerful lifeforms in this world, they still existed in this world. They did not enter the higher dimension. Dongbu Shuang might be weak, but he was currently able to see the higher dimension. It was like a two-dimensional life form suddenly looking up into the three-dimensional world. Dongbu Shuang had done it. Amidst the ancient cultivation, there was a group of experts who were talented in this aspect. Ancestor Desert and the others could do it too. But they could only look up to the higher dimension. They discovered the existence of the higher dimension and could only look up at it. I can see it. I can see the higher dimension. I wonder when I can enter the higher dimension with my body. Dongbu Shuang thought. He could sense it. It was already hard for his perception to enter. His body was completely rejected. If he wanted to reach other places, he would have to connect two holes and follow the passage to another location. He could not enter the higher dimension from the start to the end. The ancient cultivation is formidable. Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. He had the foundation of the Voidwalker system, and Emperor Julian's absolute art to guide him. With his current comprehension ability, he was fortunate enough to reach this stage and see the higher dimension. And there was a group of ancient cultivators who could do it too. There were even some ancient cultivators who could see part of the future, and some who could slightly alter the past. These were techniques that even cosmos gods did not have. Hence, the ancient cultivation system was indeed a unique cultivation system. Experts were heaven-defying at times. I have yet to cultivate the ancient cultivation system, yet I have achieved it. I have to thank Emperor Julian for creating this incomplete absolute art. Dongbu Shuang looked at the 4 diagrams on the wall. He was clear that his greatest gain from coming to Emperor Julian's cavern dwelling were these 4 diagrams. I'll have to trouble Senior to send me out, Dongbu Shuang suddenly said with a clear voice. All right. Once you have killed enough higher-ups from the ancient sacred religion, come over to my place. The treasures of the monarchs are always waiting for you to exchange for them. The puppet lifeform's voice sounded. Following that, Wang. A spatial fluctuation descended. Dongbu Shuang was directly teleported out. Hua. In a vast wilderness, Dongbu Shuang appeared. Standing in this wilderness, Dongbu Shuang revealed a grin. He immediately attempted to see that mysterious region once again. He then connected the 2 holes to form a passage. It might be slightly more troublesome if he wanted to send others, but it was much easier for him to do it himself. Who? The space in front of him was distorting. Dongbu Shuang took a step into it, and the distorted space rapidly returned to normal. And at another location on the 9-cloud Great Land, half a continent away, Dongbu Shuang walked out from the distorted space. It is indeed mysterious, Dongbu Shuang praised. But I can't find the cavern dwelling of Emperor Julian. Dongbu Shuang had previously observed the cavern dwelling through the mysterious region, and knew where it was located. But now that he observed it again, he could not find it. It seemed to be completely hidden. Emperor Julian's techniques were clearly much more profound. Who? Dongbu Shuang took a step, causing the space to distort. Following that, he disappeared. The next time he appeared, he was in a primal chaos void that was incredibly far away from the 9-cloud Great Land. Dongbu Shuang stood in the primal chaos void. He understood that his rewards this time were too great. It made him one of the few envied by countless cultivators. Ancestor Desert, Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, and the others were envied. Because even if they stayed in their territories for long periods of time, there would always be experts asking them for help, sending them to some faraway places. Every single time, the fees would not be small. Hence, all of them were extremely wealthy. Secondly, this sort of escaping technique was heaven-defying. If they wanted to leave, not many could stop them. Let's return to my hometown to take a look. After gaining the ability to travel to any place, what Dongbu Shuang wanted to do the most was to return to his hometown cosmos and see his loved ones. Who? Dongbu Shuang took a step, causing the void to distort. He then disappeared. Chapter 883. The nine-cloud great land was extremely far away from his hometown cosmos, and primal chaos realm giants would have to spend 10 million years to travel there. Who? In the blink of an eye, a region within the primal chaos void distorted. Dongbush Shuang walked out from within. Hometown cosmos. Dongbush Shuang looked towards a direction. Because the distance was too far, his teleportation had deviated slightly. But using void penetration within the primal chaos void was much faster than within the sacred world. Hoo-hoo! In a breath of time, Dongbush Shuang arrived in front of a huge cosmos. The cosmos would at most allow ruler realm outsiders to enter. As for void gods, there would definitely be lifeforms within this cosmos. Powerful external lifeforms could not enter the cosmos, unless they were like Void Walker Gu Chi, who had the power to destroy a cosmos. The cosmos could not stop them and could only allow them to enter. But destroying a cosmos was something the current Dongbush Shuang could not do. See, a crack appeared in the cosmos membrane. Dongbush Shuang easily flew in. His hometown cosmos was still within this epoch, and he had not been expelled. In his hometown cosmos, that wild black dog that was lying on the grass at the starting ground suddenly opened its eyes. Looking into the distance, its dog face revealed a look of astonishment. It muttered in human language, "Dongbush Shuang, this brat, has just left. For how long before he returned? He is already at the Unity Realm? Not only is he at the Unity Realm, he is also an Inner Hall Elder." The white-haired old man appeared and said, "This starting ground was constructed by Forefather Tianyu. When members of the Great Void Heaven Temple came to this cosmos, the starting ground would be able to sense their identities." Inner Hall Elder? Doesn't that mean that his strength is close to mine? The wild black dog was startled. Strictly speaking, it was at the 6th level Star Pagoda's strength. But it had the geographical advantage at the starting ground. The laws and profound mysteries of the arrays constructed by Forefather Tianyu were amazing. The wild black dog was reinforced by the arrays, allowing it to unleash strength at the 7th level Star Pagoda's strength. Even so, it was suppressed by Sword Master in the past. With such a fast cultivation speed, he would most likely become a Hall Master of my Great Void Heaven Temple in the future. The white-haired old man praised. Dongbush Shuang stared at the vast star region that was emanating a boundless aura of destruction. The entire star region was barren, and not a single weak life could be found. Only a dark red-robed man was among them. Now, the dark red-robed man sensed something and looked over. Through the distance of space, he saw the white-robed young man standing outside the star region. Snow Eagle? Bloodblade, who was in the middle of his cultivation, was shocked. He immediately stopped his cultivation and took a step forward, traversing through space to reach Dongbush Shuang. Snow Eagle, you're back? Bloodblade couldn't believe his eyes. Because time was too short. It would take a long time to travel from his home cosmos to the 7-star oceanic sacred world. You're back. Dongbush Shuang smiled. It's only been a few 100 million years, and you're already back. Furthermore, I can't see through your current strength. Bloodblade was shocked. Dongbush Shuang smiled. Master, I'm lucky. Not long after leaving my home cosmos, I encountered a void corridor, which allowed me to meet the devil ancestor of my Great Void Heaven Temple. This allowed me to reach the Great Void Heaven Temple early. Although it's only been a few 100 million years, in reality, I've already cultivated for billions of years with the help of the Great Void Heaven Temple's Hall of Time. That's why I have such strength. Master, with your perception and potential, once you enter the Great Void Heaven Temple, your strength will definitely soar. Void Corridor? Bloodblade was shocked. You actually encountered a void corridor? He knew the route to the 7-star oceanic sacred world, and he also knew that there would be unknown dangers along the way. The void corridor was something that Bloodshed God Emperor would have a headache over. Because the moment he entered it, although the possibility of dying was low, the distance to the 7-star oceanic sacred world would be much further. His home cosmos was considered very close to the 7-star oceanic sacred world. Through the void corridor, he might be able to travel 10 to 100 times further. It was practically impossible to travel there. That was the reality. Dongbui Shuang had arrived close to the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. Didn't you meet the devil ancestor too? Dongbui Shuang chuckled. Fortunately. Bloodblade sighed. It is indeed dangerous to leave my home and travel through the primal chaos void. To the current me, it is very easy, Dongbui Shuang said. Master, by then, I'll personally send you to the Great Void Heaven Temple. Bloodblade nodded with a smile. Haha, it seems that you have cultivated for billions of years, and your strength is much deeper than before. Are you prepared to guide the other rulers? They are all stuck at the bottleneck and could not become void gods. A month later. I'll invite everyone to my Black Fog Seas Dongbo Monarch residence, Dongbui Shuang said. All right. Bloodblade was relatively happy. He was in a good mood. Actually, he was extremely worried when Dongbui Shuang left his hometown Cosmos. After all, Dongbui Shuang was too weak in the past, much weaker than him, Bloodblade. But now, the other party was much stronger than him. But Bloodblade remained calm. Firstly, this disciple of his had a higher comprehension ability and potential than himself. Secondly, Bloodblade felt that he would undergo a metamorphosis after entering the Great Void Heaven Temple. After Dongbui Shuang separated from his teacher, he took a step before arriving in front of a huge starry sky land. This starry sky land was emitting a rolling red light. There was a chain of palaces on it, and many cultivators resided within. Ha! Dongbui Shuang could not help but laugh when he saw it. On this starry sky land, there was currently a young man wearing a loose gray robe seated cross-legged at the highest point of the palace. There were many disciples listening to him. This kid is not bad. He actually accepted so many disciples. Dongbui Shuang was grinning from ear to ear. After returning to his hometown, he was in an extremely good mood. This was because with his strength, he could easily sense every corner of his hometown cosmos. He instantly discovered that his son, Dongbui Yu, had already transcended. Now, he seemed to have become an old ancestor, and was even teaching many disciples. Seeing his son in such a state, Dongbui Shuang was even happier than if he himself had a breakthrough in his cultivation. Dongbui Shuang called out. Dongbui Yu, who was seated at the highest point of the palace, was slightly startled. He could not help but tremble. He hurriedly ordered, "All of you can leave." With that, he disappeared into thin air. Although His Highness's disciples were puzzled, they still obediently retreated. In the void, Dongbui Yu appeared. When he saw the person in front of him, he could not help but feel excited. "Father! You're back?" It was too fast. It was even faster than what he had expected. He had thought that his father would only return when this epoch was about to end. Not bad. Dongbui Shuang smiled and praised. When Dongbui Yu heard his father's praise, he could not help but smile. "Where's your mother?" Dongbui Shuang asked. "Is she already in a deep slumber? It has only been a few 100 million years. Mother is not in a rush to enter a deep slumber. However, she spends most of her time within the Eden world," Dongbui Yu said. "She would occasionally come out. However, in a few more years, Mother is preparing to enter a deep slumber. Mother and elder sister are currently in the Emperor residence." Dongbui Shuang nodded lightly. Preparing to enter a deep slumber? Indeed, Jingqiu had not transcended. "Come, let's go and meet your mother and elder sister," Dongbui Shuang said. Chapter 884. Dongbui Shuang brought Dongbui Yu with him. In an instant, they arrived above the Black Fog Sea. Currently, Dongbui Qingyao was in charge of everything in the Emperor residence. "Snow Eagle?" Jingqiu, who was invited out of the grotto heaven by her daughter, looked at Dongbui Shuang. She was overjoyed, and all the worries in her heart disappeared. Dongbui Shuang exchanged glances with his wife. Dongbui Yu and Dongbui Qingyao exchanged glances as well. Dongbui Qingyao said, "Father, mother, continue chatting. Little brother and I will prepare some food." With that, the siblings left. Only the husband and wife were left in the hall. I'm back, Dongbua Shuang said softly. My luck is good. I will be able to get my hands on the treasures I want very quickly. Hence, I came back to take a look. Jingqiu walked over. Let's go out for a walk. And men. The husband and wife walked within the Dongbua Emperor residence. They held hands, and everything seemed peaceful. They had cultivated for a long time. Their emotions were naturally hidden deep in their hearts. Back then, you insisted on going out and traveling through the primal chaos void. You were, Qin Yao, and I were very worried, but we couldn't persuade you, Jingqiu said. You know my temper. Dongbua Shuang smiled. It's good that you're back, Jingqiu said. How's your cultivation? Dongbua Shuang asked. Tell me about it. The husband and wife began discussing the various problems in their cultivation. The current Dongbua Shui Ying's realm was much higher than before. He was even comparable to the Sword Master back in his hometown Cosmos. Although the Sword Master was at the Primal Chaos realm back then. In terms of knowledge, the current Dongbua Shuang was much more knowledgeable. After all, he had read all the scriptures in the Great Void Heaven Temple's Myriad Hall. He had also read all the scriptures collected by Emperor Julian. His guidance often touched Jingqiu. I need a portion of Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Those who have it can discuss it in detail. Dongbua Shuang also sent out a message within the Great Void Heaven Temple. At the same time, he also sent out a request to purchase a portion of Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core from the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion. Of course, Dongbua Shuang had always concealed his identity. Others only knew that it was a request from the Great Void Heaven Temple. I hope I can get it as soon as possible, Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Because Yuer had already transcended, he only needed to prepare a portion of Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core for his wife. His harvest from Emperor Julian's treasure was enough. The only problem now was that there had to be Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Cores to sell. A precious treasure worth around 6,000 Origin World stones. This kind of precious treasure that was nurtured was extremely rare. It wasn't something that could be bought just because one wanted to. It would be very difficult to find it in the Great Void Heaven Temple. The 7-star Oceanic Pavilion was a superpower that engaged in trading. Once the news was sent out, they should be able to find a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core after some time. The first choice is the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Since I can't find it, I can only thicken my face and ask for Father Tian Yu to help me find it. If I really can't find it, I'll just settle for the next best thing and choose other materials that can aid in cultivation. Dongbua Shuang thought. Something of a higher grade than the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core? There was one. That was the Eternal Heart or Origin World Fruit that could allow one to transcend directly. But those were things that Cosmos gods could hardly obtain. For instance, for the sake of an Eternal Heart, Blade Emperor and Wu Zhu had teamed up to kill a Cosmos god. Blade Emperor and Wu Zhu were both ranked at the second level of Final Realm existences. Hence, even with his current strength, Dongbua Shuang did not dare to have any extravagant hopes. Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core was already good enough. Oh, let me try again. Jingqiu discovered that her husband would often point out problems and cultivation methods from different perspectives. Time after time, it would stimulate her, igniting the impulse to cultivate in Jingqiu once again. Jingqiu. Dongbua Shuang flipped his hand. He took out a total of 100 Origin World rocks. Looking at these rocks that were suffused with strange colors, Jingqiu felt an intense impulse in her soul. She was starving to the point where she could barely suppress it. There's no need to suppress the impulse in your soul. Just let your soul absorb the energy instinctively, Dongbua Shuang said. Take one into your body and slowly absorb it. After absorbing one, take the next. Jingqiu did not reject. Because she absolutely believed in her husband. Every single Origin World rock that entered her body would naturally be absorbed by her soul, causing Jingqiu to feel intoxicated. This feeling was wonderful. She spent a total of 3 days or so before she finished consuming the 100 Origin World rocks. It was mainly because her soul was slightly weaker, and it took a long time for her to consume them. Dongbui Shuang watched from the side. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never tasted the taste of Origin World rocks. How is it? Dongbui Shuang waited for his wife to finish absorbing the 100 Origin World rocks before asking. My soul has become much stronger and more stable. Jingqiu felt startled. It should be able to last at least 500 million years longer than before. Furthermore, the feeling of my soul is very wonderful now, and the effect of my cultivation should be great too. Dongbui Shuang nodded. Letting Stage 4 world deities consume Origin World rocks was a very extravagant matter. Because Origin World rocks were useful even to cosmos gods. The reason why Dongbui Shuang let his wife consume it was because the Origin World rock was relatively gentle, and it was the most comprehensive to the soul. His wife's lifespan would be extended. You should cultivate first and see if you can transcend in one fell swoop, Dongbui Shuang said. If not. After that, there was still the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, which had a much better effect in cultivation. The Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core was worth 6,000 Origin World rocks, but to a Stage 4 world deity, its effect was comparable to consuming more than 100,000 Origin World rocks. It was the most heaven-defying cultivation item known to be a Stage 4 world deity. 6,000 Origin World rocks. Some of the weaker primal chaos giants would most likely have to sell all their treasures for it. As he helped his wife, Dongbui Shuang was also sorting out his comprehension of cultivation and writing down many absolute arts. The absolute arts he wrote down were from the world deity realm all the way to the void god realm. What realm did the current Dongbui Shuang reach? In terms of strength, he was not any weaker than Ancestor Devil back in his hometown Cosmos. In terms of horizons, he had far surpassed them. Dongbui Shuang had even created an absolute art like the fish dragon kill. Currently, he merely needed absolute arts at the world deity and true god realm, and he could casually create them. In terms of power, they were much stronger than Luminous Sun and Extreme Annihilation Mysterious Body. Some were even stronger than Ancestor Devil's Myriad Devil True Body. Naturally, after Ancestor Devil entered the Great Void Heaven Temple, his current Myriad Devil True Body had become even more amazing. But the Myriad Devil True Body he left behind in his hometown Cosmos was no longer placed in the eyes of the current Dongbui Shuang. After all, he usually cultivated the less than 13 apocalyptic swords, plate ripple diagram, dark world and other Cosmos ranked absolute arts. Even though there were only 2 styles of dark world, these 2 styles were indeed Cosmos ranked absolute arts. It was just that he could not create the subsequent styles. Dongbui Shuang was doing this purely for the sake of the juniors in his hometown. Even though Sword Master and Ancestor Devil had become more amazing after entering the Great Void Heaven Temple, they did not return. This time, Dongbui Shuang came back to sort out the laws and profound mysteries and create many absolute arts so as to guide everyone in their cultivation. In just half a month, Dongbui Shuang had easily written down 28 absolute arts, and the majority of them were stronger than the Myriad Devil True Body. And the grand banquet held in the monarch residence had finally arrived. As it was not a large-scale invitation, there were not many who were qualified to participate in the banquet. Only Monarch Green, Purgatory Ruler, Pang Yi, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, Abyss Primogenitor and other rulers, as well as Paragon Huiqing, Senior Brother Huiming, Shihua Laozu and some others who were close to Dongbui Shuang. Of course, Dongbui Yu, Dongbui Qin Yao and some other good friends were also invited. Star. Chapter 885. Something huge happened during the banquet hosted by Dongbui Shuang. Primal Master had broken through to the Void God realm. Congratulations, congratulations. Congratulations, Brother Primal. Who would have thought that you have taken this step too? Abyss Primogenitor, Temporal Island Lord, Empress Qianhe, Purgatory Ruler, Monarch Green, Pangyi and the others were all congratulating Primal Master. The soul of Primal Master had transformed. His aura had become much more vast. He looked at Dongbui Shuang and immediately bowed. It is all thanks to Brother Dongbui. If not for Brother Dombua's guidance, I really do not know when I would have broken through. I have merely explained a little. Primal Master, the reason why you could break through is because of your previous accumulations, Dombua Shuang said. Dombua. Monarch Green could not help but ask. You have only explained half of what you said regarding the void. I have merely gained some insights. I will speak, and you should listen, Dombua Shuang continued. Monarch Green listened attentively. During this banquet, Dombua Shuang was being questioned by a group of rulers. Helplessly, Dombua Shuang specialized in ripple, slaughter, and mirage. He also had a unique understanding of the void. As for other aspects, because he had read through all the books in the Great Void Heaven Temple and Emperor Julian's books, Dombua Shuang was able to express some simple views. But these were treasures to the rulers who could only cultivate within the cosmos. They felt as though a door had opened in front of them. After the banquet, Dombua Shuang accompanied his wife Jing Qiu on one side, doing his best to guide her. On the other side, he continued creating absolute arts. In the blink of an eye, more than 1,000 years had passed. Snow Eagle, you actually wrote so many absolute arts? Bloodshed God Emperor was flipping through many books within the library. He could not help but praise. All of them have reached the Void God realm. I've also created several absolute arts, but compared to this one of yours, they are still lacking. So many ultimate arts will be of great help to countless cultivators in the universe. Some of them were written by me, and some of them were obtained by chance, Dombua Shuang said. In the sacred world, on the 9-cloud great land, he had battled and killed before. For example, after the Valley Master of the Blaze Valley died in battle, he brought along many absolute art manuals with him, all of which belonged to the Blaze Valley. In the Sovereign Lord's treasure trove, he had also forced his enemies to hand over all their treasures. All the treasures naturally included absolute art manuals. There were simply too many manuals. Some were about the laws of profound mysteries, and some were about other systems. Dombua Shuang placed these books into the library as well. In the beginning, I was filled with inspiration, and I wrote down a bunch of ultimate techniques. However, I've written down almost all of my insights over the long years, so it's very difficult to write them down again. Dombua Shuang shook his head. Master, help me take a look at these manuals. Also, help me come up with some ideas on how to impart them to the cultivators. Alright, wait till I'm done. I'll help you come up with some ideas. Bloodblade was completely engrossed in it. The more he read, the more he sighed. This disciple of his had already surpassed him. Jia! Dombua Shuang glanced at Bloodblade, who was immersed in reading. He then pushed open the door of the library and walked into the courtyard. Through the courtyard, he could see his wife Jing Qiu, who was currently practicing her sword. The sword light emitted a cold aura. The region where Jing Qiu was practicing her sword technique was completely covered in frost. She hasn't transcended yet. Dombua Shuang shook his head. It seems that my guidance and 100 origin world rocks aren't enough. I still need the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate core. It's a pity that I haven't found one until now. A rare treasure like the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate core. There were very few of them in the entire 5 great sacred worlds and primal chaos void. Those who owned a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate core might be in closed-door cultivation. Naturally, they did not know that Shuang wanted to purchase a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate core. Let's wait. Just 1,000 years is too short to primal chaos realm giants and cosmos gods. Dombua Shuang thought, if I can't find any news about the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate core in 100 million years, I'll thicken my face and ask Forefather Tianyu for help. Forefather Tianyu was ultimately a palace master. Unless necessary, Dombua Shuang was not willing to ask Forefather for help. 100 million years was a more suitable period. If he could not find it after such a long period, it would be hard for him to find it normally. It would be easier to find it if he asked Forefather for help given his status. Amen? Dombua Ying's expression suddenly changed. He flipped his hand, causing a communication talisman to appear. Suddenly, a piece of news came from within the talisman. 9 Cloud Great Land. Devil Sword Guest is being pursued by Chiwu Palace Master. His life is hanging by a thread. Mission reward, 3 million contribution points. This news contained the current location of Devil Sword Guest. A message asking for help? Dongwu Shuiying was startled. On the 9 Cloud Great Land, the 3 great sacred worlds were fighting with the 2 great religions, of which the 3 great sacred worlds were helping and supporting one another. Clearly, the internal intelligence system of the Great Void Heaven Temple had determined that Dongwu Shuiying was on the 9 Cloud Great Land. Hence, this piece of news was sent to him. Devil Sword Guest, a commander from the Blade Emperor City. He is an expert who has crossed through the 5th level Star Pagoda. Dongwu Shuiying thought, Chiwu Palace Master is a famous expert from the ancient sacred religion. He specializes in using poison and is at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. Devil Sword Guest is actually being pursued to the point of asking for help? Accept it. Dongwu Shuiying immediately accepted the mission. At the same time, he sent a message over. I am currently in closed-door cultivation and am close to where they are fighting. I should be able to reach in the time taken to brew a cup of tea. This piece of news was first obtained by the internal intelligence system of the Great Void Heaven Temple. It was slightly modified before being sent to Devil Sword Guest. 9 Cloud Great Land. Within one of the mountain forests there was a tribe that lived here. They cultivated, resisting all sorts of dangers with great difficulty to survive until now. Haha, come, attack me again. On a piece of empty land within the tribe, a green-robed male was currently teaching a group of young people. These young people were all transcendents. There were occasionally deities, but that green-robed male was already a world deity. Suddenly, hoo-hoo! 2 figures flashed in the sky above the mountain forest. Devil Sword Guest, you can't escape! A cold voice reverberated in the sky. At the same time, an unseen aura naturally spread out. It swept across the countless trees in the mountain forest, and also this tribe. The trees in the mountain forest instantly lost their life force. They were all withered, and some trees even drooped down. And the few thousand tribesmen of that tribe did not move at all. They maintained their original appearance, though their eyes were completely dim. They no longer had any spirituality. Clearly, in an instant, these few thousand tribesmen had all died. This was merely the remnant ripple of the poisonous fog released by Chiwu Palace Master. What should I do? Devil Sword Guest was a cold young man with a black sword on his back. He was doing his best to escape, yet Chiwu Palace Master was chasing after him by following the traces left in the void. This caused despair to rise in Devil Sword Guest's heart. I've sought help from the Blade Emperor City. General has also been sent to the 9 Cloud Great Land through an ultra-long distance. But he is too far away from where I am. Even if we travel through the time-space tunnel, it will take close to a day. Devil Sword Guest felt sullen. He was first plotted against and poisoned before being chased after. He had to seek help from his own superpower. But ultra-long distance teleportation would have some deviation. For a primal chaos expert to travel for a day, this deviation was very normal considering how far the 9 Cloud Great Land was from the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. A day? How can I survive for a day? Devil Sword Guest was anxious. Because he was too anxious. That was why he sought help through the internal system of the 3 great holy grounds. This message was immediately sent to all those who could save him, like the primal chaos giants, or some 5th level Star Pagoda experts on the 9 Cloud Great Land. What? Devil Sword Guest, who was in despair, suddenly revealed a joyous look. Because he had just received a piece of news from the Great Void Heaven Temple. After the time taken to brew a cup of tea, an expert from the Great Void Heaven Temple would arrive at Devil Sword Guest's location. To Devil Sword Guest, he was confident of surviving for the time taken to brew a cup of tea. Chapter 886. Jing Qiu, I'll be going out for a walk. I'll be back soon, Dongwu Shuiying said. Jing Qiu continued executing her sword technique. She smiled at her husband. Ever since her husband returned, she was in a good mood. In the future, with her husband accompanying her, even if she could not transcend and die, she was willing. She smiled. All right. Following that, she took a step. Space distorted. Dongbush Shuang entered the distorted space and disappeared from the vicinity. When he appeared again, he was already at the 9-cloud Great Land. To him who grasped the ultra-long-distance teleportation technique, the vast primal chaos void and the 5 great sacred worlds could be reached in an instant. This made Dongbush Shuang sigh. The number 1 expert in the void, Emperor Juyun, who surpassed the void primogenitor, ultimately failed to complete the 4-diagram absolute art. What kind of absolute art was it? At the level of Emperor Juyun, the 4th diagram was just an incomplete one. One had to know that the cavern-dwelling array he constructed was something that no one could unravel over the long years. Dongbush Shuang stood in midair. He looked up at the sun in the sky and determined his current location. There is a slight deviation. If I were to use the time-space tunnel, I would most likely need 4 hours to reach. Dongbush Shuang took another step. Space distorted as he directly penetrated through. He arrived at a grassland that was extremely close to Devil's Sword Guest. I am very close. If I am willing, I can reach very quickly. Dongbush Shuang felt helpless. But for me to reach in the time taken to brew a cup of tea is already very coincidental. Dongbush Shuang did not dare to reveal too much of himself. Because there were some primal chaos giants who grasped the ultra-long-distance teleportation technique. But Dongbush Shuang had never heard of someone at the Unity Realm who could do so. Maybe his horizons were not broad enough. But he was after all an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Since he had never heard of such a technique, it was best for him to keep this a secret. When he became a primal chaos giant, no one would suspect him then. They would naturally think that Dongbush Shuang had cultivated the ancient cultivation system. Dongbush Shuang staggered for the time it took to brew a cup of tea before he finally found the demon swordsman based on the information provided by him. Demon swordsman, no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. This time you're dead. Chiwu Palace Master was dressed in a purple robe. His long and narrow eyes were filled with a faint mist. Once again, he controlled from a distance. In the sky around Demon Swordsman, a formation that covered the sky and covered the sun immediately appeared. On the other hand, the Demon Swordsman was desperately trying to escape through the void, occasionally pulling out the black sword on his back. After drawing the sword, he would put the black sword back into its sheath. Every time he unsheathed his sword, the power behind it was immense. Cough, cough! Why aren't they here yet? Where are the experts from the Great Void Heaven Temple? The Demon Swordsman was getting anxious. Oh, Chiwu Palace Master? A cold voice rang out. A white-robed young man tore through the void and appeared. This time, Dongbush Shuang did not hide his appearance because he usually stayed in his home cosmos. He would only come out if there was something important. Since he would not be staying in the 9-cloud Great Land for long, there was naturally no need for him to conceal his identity. Chiwu Palace Master's expression changed. Dongbush Shuang? Why is he so fast? Even if Inquisitive Sky Hall Master of the Great Void Heaven Temple personally sent him over, given the distance, there should be a huge deviation. Humph! A cold glint flashed in the eyes of Dongbush Shuang. Hua hua hua! Layers of dark world descended, instantly enveloping the distant Chiwu Palace Master. The layers of dark world descended from the illusory into reality. Chiwu Palace Master could not even dodge in time. Not good! Chiwu Palace Master roared fiercely. He transformed into a lizard-like mutated beast that was covered in scales. Ping! 120 layers of dark world exploded at the same time. The true body of Chiwu Palace Master let out a painful roar. His body was filled with savage wounds from the explosion, but he was still alive. Chiwu Palace Master's violet eyes glanced at Dongbush Shuang. Without hesitation, he tore through the void and began escaping. How long has this Dongbush Shuang cultivated for? He is actually able to injure a body that I modified using countless hex poisons. Sensing danger, Chiwu Palace Master immediately chose to escape. Escape? Dongbua Shuang immediately chased after him through the void, escaping in front of a void walker that grasped ultra-long-distance teleportation? If he really escaped, that would be a great humiliation. Demon Sword Guest heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately descended to the ground and sat down cross-legged. He began to expel the poison. Previously, he was constantly being chased and was unable to spend too much effort to expel the poison. Now, the hex poison in his body was being expelled continuously. How did Wuzu create the witchcraft system? Even his poison is so powerful? Demon Sword Guest muttered. Before the birth of the witchcraft system, there were people who used poison. However, the usage of poison was not as common and powerful as it is now. When the voodoo ancestor was born, the system of witchcraft that he created had already reached an unimaginable level. Formations, weapons refinement, voodoo poison, puppets. He had reached an extremely high level in all of these. The other systems that used poison immediately borrowed the usage of hex poisons from the witchcraft system, causing the name hex poisons to become very common. Some of the weaker cultivators did not really understand what hex poisons meant, and would directly call those who researched poison hex poisons. Who? Demon Sword Guest opened his mouth and spat out a gray mist which dissipated with the wind. Demon Sword Guest's complexion became much better. Although there were still remnants of poison in his body, it was no longer a problem. South! Dongbua Shui Ying's figure appeared from the void. Brother Dongbua. Demon Sword Guest hurriedly stood up and said with gratitude, "This time, it's all thanks to Brother Dongbua. Otherwise, this life of mine would have died in the hands of that Chi-Wu Palace Master. This time, I fell into his trap. In the future, I will definitely find an opportunity to get rid of him. Chi-Wu Palace Master is already dead," Dongbua Shuang said. Demon Sword Guest was startled. He died? He was too familiar with Chi-Wu Palace Master. This was an extremely sinister expert from the ancient sacred religion with an extremely strong life force. He was a hex cultivator and also an ancient cultivator. He had many survival methods. He thought that the reason why Dongbua Shuang returned so quickly was because Chi-Wu Palace Master had escaped. Who would have thought that he was killed? How long had it been? He, Demon Sword Guest, was able to survive for so long in the hands of Chi-Wu Palace Master even though he was poisoned. Isn't he too strong? Demon Sword Guest did not dare believe it. In just a short while, a famous great expert like Chi-Wu Palace Master died just like that. He borrowed external force. Dongbua Shuang explained. He indeed relied on external force. Chi-Wu Palace Master's survival methods were too formidable. If he relied on his own strength, he would have to chase for half a day before killing the other party. Dongbua Shuang did not wish to waste any time. Hence, he used the Black Gourd to assist him. With the Black Gourd fireball that reached the 6th level Star Pagoda power, in addition to his own strength, the plate ripple diagram domain suppression and the multilayered dark world, he was able to kill Chi-Wu Palace Master quickly. In a life and death battle, there is no need to rely on external force. Demon Sword Guest added. I truly admire Brother Dongbua's strength. This time, Brother Dongbua has saved my life again. Go, let's go to my residence. It is very close to here, and I'll entertain Brother Dongbua well. Brother Dongbua, don't reject me. Rejecting me is equivalent to looking down on me. All right. Dongbua Shuang immediately agreed when he saw the other party being so passionate. The two of them immediately tore through the void. At that moment, stop! Dongbua Shuang and Demon Sword Guest appeared from the void. Demon Sword Guest looked at Dongbua Shuang with puzzlement. Brother Dongbua, what happened? Dongbua Shuang was frowning as he looked downwards. His expression was ugly. Chapter 887. There was a tribe living in the valley below. There were tens of thousands of living beings in the tribe. There were 3 true gods and more than 1,000 world deities. The other tens of thousands of people were either deities or transcendents. This was an extremely ordinary tribe on the 9-cloud great land. But at this moment, the entire tribe was deathly silent. All living beings were either standing, lying down, or sitting there grabbing onto roasted meat. None of them were injured on the surface, yet their eyes were completely dim. Their souls had been extinguished. Dongbu Shuang was extremely sensitive to his surroundings. He could sense the strands of hex poison aura in the surroundings. It was the hex poison that Chiwu Palace Master specialized in. Although it was only a very weak aura, even a true god hegemon would instantly perish. If Chiwu Palace Master deliberately released the hex poison, most void gods at the Unity Realm could not survive against it. Brother Donghua, are you pitying them? Devil Sword Guest looked downwards before casually chuckling. It's all because Chiwu Palace Master did not control his hex poison aura when he acted against me. Yet, it affected this tribe. This is the sorrow of the weak. Just a touch and they all died. But now that Chiwu Palace Master is dead, this tribe can be considered to have taken revenge. Donghua Shuang looked at the current smile of Devil Sword Guest. He felt slightly uncomfortable. Who? Donghua Shuang could still sense the traces of battle between both parties in the void. Following along the traces, he said, "Let us go to another location to have a look." Saying that, he brought Devil Sword Guest and teleported. At another location. It was a village living by the lakeside. This village was hidden amidst the lush weeds. It could not be seen from afar. This peaceful and tranquil village had similarly lost its aura of life. Donghua Shuang looked downwards coldly. This is also a place affected by the battle. Devil Sword Guest shook his head. To Chiwu Palace Master, he doesn't care about their lives. Who? Donghua Shuang brought Devil Sword Guest along the traces left behind in the void and headed to another location. At another location, it was another assembly region affected by the battle. He continued to look around. The demon swordsman said at first, but he soon frowned in dissatisfaction. What is this elder Donghua Shuang of the Great Void Heaven Temple trying to do? Teleport me all the way and look at the areas where the weak ants live. Humph. Firstly, Donghua Shuang had saved his life. Secondly, the time Donghua Shuang took to kill Chiwu Palace Lord was too short, and his strength made him fearful. This caused the demon swordsman to suppress his dissatisfaction. Demon swordsman. Donghua Shuang floated in the air, looking down at the tribe at the foot of the mountain. Don't you have anything to say? Say what? Demon swordsman laughed. Sigh, they indeed died pitifully. Chiwu Palace Master is indeed ruthless enough. However, Chiwu Palace Master has also died. For an upper echelon of the ancient sacred cult to die along with them, it is worth it. Worth it? Donghua Shuang looked at Demon Swordsman. To the dead, everything is empty. Demon Swordsman frowned. Elder Donghua, what is the meaning of this? Shuang said with a low voice. Chiwu Palace Master is chasing after you. You have been escaping all the way. The world is so big, and there are many wilderness, forests, and lakes. You can escape to many places, so why not avoid these tribes? Demon Swordsman and the rest were unable to tear open a spatial tunnel, and could only teleport short distances. Every time they teleported, they would be able to sense the situation at the other location. If you had avoided them slightly, the battle wouldn't have affected them. Donghua Shuang asked. But you didn't do that. Demon Swordsman was startled. He frowned and had an ugly expression. Elder Donghua, you did save me, but I also took out Origin World rocks. I believe that the Great Void Heaven Temple will reward you too. These are just some ants that were affected by the battle, and it is because of Chiwu Palace Master. You are targeting me. Are you purposely trying to make things difficult for me? When Donghua Shuang heard the word ants, he could not help but understand the other party's mentality. In this vast land, there are very few gathering areas. Donghua Shuang continued. But when you fled, it seemed like you purposely passed by these gathering areas. Demon Swordsman's expression sank, and he laughed coldly. I was fleeing for my life, and I couldn't even protect myself. Why would I care about these ants? All right, I don't have the mood to talk to you anymore. Thank you for saving my life. Let's part ways from now on. South Demon Swordsman directly teleported away. Dongbu Shuang watched as Demon Swordsman disappeared. He didn't care about the lives of ants? Dongbu Shuang could guess that from the start. Demon Swordsman really didn't care about the lives of these tribes. If they died, then they died. He didn't care at all. But for so many tribes to be implicated, Demon Swordsman must have done it on purpose. He might have done it on purpose because he hoped to encounter a great expert living in seclusion in a tribe. If Chiwu Palace Master's hex poison aura affected the weak, if there was a true expert living in seclusion, he would definitely act to stop Chiwu Palace Master. At that time, he, Demon Swordsman, would have a chance to survive. Being weak is a sin, Dongbu Shuang muttered to himself. To the high and mighty Demon Swordsman, the weak were just ants. He truly didn't care. Although I pity them and feel anger towards Demon Swordsman, I don't have any killing intent, Dongbu Shuang thought. Demon Swordsman was a member of Blade Emperor City. 5 great sacred worlds. Although the 3 great sacred worlds had joined hands to fight against the 2 great religions, the 3 great sacred worlds weren't completely united. Firstly, the myriad ancient sacred world was ruled by Wu Zhu and Jia Zhu. Wu Zhu and Jia Zhu were ranked at the forefront of the final realm existences. They didn't really care about the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and 7-Star Oceanic Sacred World. And the relationship between the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and 7-Star Oceanic Sacred World was extremely good. Lord Lo Qing had only constructed a total of 6-star pagodas, one each for the 6 great holy grounds of 7-Star Oceanic Sacred World and Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. Naturally, only Ancestor Bone didn't obtain a star pagoda. One could see that Ancestor Bone was faintly being ostracized in Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. Thus, the relationship between the 6 great holy grounds of Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and 7-Star Oceanic Sacred World was extremely good. They were like a piece of iron, of which the strongest was Blade Emperor. Blade Emperor was comparable to Wu Zhu, Jia Zhu, and Ancestor Mother. Demon Swordsman is after all a core member of Blade Emperor City. I can kill those from the ancient sacred religion and the Ancestor Mother religion when I say so. I can't casually act against Demon Swordsman. Just like how Dongbu Shuang was an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple, even if Blade Emperor City and other superpowers were infuriated with Dongbu Shuang, they would not casually act against him. Otherwise, they would be slapping the face of the Great Void Heaven Temple. If they truly became enemies, they would first report to the higher-ups and let the higher-ups of the opposing superpower punish them. Furthermore, deep in my heart, I only feel that Demon Swordsman is too cold and ruthless. I don't think he deserves to die. Dongbu Shuang sighed. This was the truth. Powerful cultivators had cultivated for an unknown number of billions of years. He, Dongbu Shuang, had cultivated for tens of billions of years, and was considered to be relatively young. Over the long years, many of his loved ones were no longer around. In the midst of cultivation, some had become extreme, cold, and ruthless. If the requirements for the actions of the cultivators were too high, more than half of the cultivators in the 3 great holy grounds would be pushed to the opposite side. If that happened, the sacred master of the ancient sacred religion would obtain victory very quickly. Fighting against the ancient sacred religion was the most important thing. The region ruled by the sacred master had to have absolute faith in him. This sort of faith was not like those in his hometown Cosmos that had a relatively free faith. It was also not the simple faith that came from the soul of the weak Ancestor Mother religion. Instead, it was an imprint on the soul. Absolute loyalty. For the sake of the sacred master, he could sacrifice his life. He could even sacrifice his loved ones and friends. He would no longer have any sense of self. This was something none of the more formidable cultivators were willing to accept. The Great Void Heaven Temple, Blade Emperor City, and other superpowers have their own rules. Demons who wantonly massacred others will be killed. And for someone like Demon Swordsman, he is merely a ripple, and is still far from breaking the rules. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Even the final realm existences had set down strict rules for the sake of balancing the various parties, but it was still within the acceptable range for existences like Ancestor Devil. Dongbu Shuang continued teleporting. So. He teleported to many places, following the traces of void to check out other places that were affected. Shiwu Palace Master and Demon Swordsman had chased after them, but there were no survivors. Chapter 888. Dongbu Shuang was walking all over the Nine-Cloud Great Land. His domain was sufficiently vast, allowing him to observe the various scenes of gratitude and enmity. There were two huge tribes fighting each other for the sake of a rare treasure that had just been born. There were also devils who massacred a few million sentient beings in an assembly just for the sake of cultivating a wicked secret technique. Amidst the corpses and the gathering of resentment, there was only a single devil sitting cross-legged. When Dongbu Shuang discovered this scene as he walked along the spatial tunnel, he did not hesitate to use the plate ripple diagram to envelop the other party. Under the plate ripple diagram domain, that devil was panicking. He tried his best to move his hands, wanting to escape. But he who was barely at the second-level Star Pagoda strength could not retaliate at all in front of Dongbu Shuang. In the end, his body was suppressed to death by the ripples. Humph! Dongbu Shuang continued walking along the Nine-Cloud Great Land. Seeing all the scenes, Dongbu Shuang had many thoughts surging in his heart. Ah, young Master Fui? Young Master, you are back? Void God? Young Master has become a Void God? Dongbu Shuang stood high in the sky looking down at a nation city. The highest status within this nation were Unity Realm experts. Those who could become Void Gods were considered to be part of the higher echelons of this nation. The return of a young man had caused an uproar in the entire clan. With a Void God emerging in the clan, the status of the clan had greatly improved. Dongbu Shuang watched silently for a total of 3 days. He watched as this young master became one of the protector elders under the king. The status of the clan had greatly improved. The clan occupied a territory 10 times bigger than before, and the cultivation resources of the clansmen had greatly increased. A single person protecting an entire clan. Dongbu Shuang muttered softly. For the sake of treasures, for the sake of enmity, for the sake of cultivation. Devils will kill when they are in a good mood, and when they are in a bad mood, they will still kill. The unluckiest would always be the weaklings. Even a strand of ripple from the battle between experts could easily kill them. If an expert is willing, one person can easily protect an entire clan. If we only seek to protect ourselves and watch the weak get massacred by the side, with the devils wreaking havoc and the devour-class cultivators wantonly devouring them, it is likely that all the weak cultivators in the primal chaos void and 5 great holy grounds will die very soon. Shuang muttered. All of them watched from the sidelines and cared only for themselves. In the end, the weak were all killed. He walked around the place. He traveled in the Nine-Cloud Great Land for a total of 3 years. Hua! Space distorted. Dongbu Shuang took a step into the distorted void and left the Nine-Cloud Great Land. Home Universe. Dongbu Shuang appeared outside Dongbu Monarch Mansion in the Black Mist Sea. Looking at his own residence, his wife was drinking tea by herself. There was even a sharp divine sword placed on the table. Nowadays, Jing Qiu often practiced with the sword. Dongbo Yu, Dongbo, and Qing Yao were also in the mansion. They were training in some secret rooms. Wang. Dongbu Shui Ying's consciousness instantly covered every single part of his home cosmos. Material realm, dark abyss, deity world, countless living beings were under the observation of Dongbu Shuang. There were some he was familiar with, some were his close friends and relatives, and some were strangers. There were babbling children, youths who worked hard to cultivate since young, rich young masters who wandered around, white-haired old men and grannies. Naturally, other than these ordinary mortals, there were many cultivators. They were comprehending the profound mysteries of the laws of the world and advancing on the path of cultivation. Nobody can think of destroying everything. Dongbu Shuang thought. He had been observing the Nine-Cloud Great Land for the past 3 years. He even deliberately followed the ripples and rushed over. He saw too many battles and scenes of entire tribes being destroyed. Some of them were already at the end of the battle when he arrived. Hence, when he returned to his hometown, he was instinctively worried that his hometown would meet with the same fate. Even though a cosmos was powerful, it could ultimately be destroyed. For instance, primal Chaos Realm giants could destroy an entire cosmos if they were slightly stronger. Danger was everywhere, much less a cosmos. Even the primitive ancient sacred world of the past was destroyed. Almost all living beings in that world were wiped out. Those with strength must stand out. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes brightened. Even if the weak are guilty, it isn't a crime worthy of death. Because every expert has to grow up step by step from being weak. The weak need protection. And it must be the experts who stand out. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the vast starry sky. His consciousness enveloped the countless living beings. If the experts don't stand out, who will? With strength comes responsibility. The responsibility to protect the weak. Dongbua Shuiying's heart realm was undergoing a transformation. In the past, he felt that it was not wrong to only care about one's own safety. But now, his thinking had changed. He saw how Devil Sword Guest had casually taken a route when he escaped, causing the deaths of countless living beings. Devil Sword Guest did not even care about it. Dongbua Shuiying was moved. After 3 years of observation, his heart became firmer. He was even more certain of his understanding of himself. If the experts only cared about their own safety, the world would be finished. With strength came responsibility. He had to stand out. Perhaps my strength might be limited, but I can still shoulder a piece of the heavens. Although the area of this heavens might be small, it is enough to protect many living beings. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. 1. In the air above the black fog sea, Dongbua Shuiying stood there looking at the starry sky. Gradually, his body started to emit a bright light. This was the light that originated from his soul. Gradually, a layer of golden robe condensed around his body. This robe was formed naturally from the light of his soul. There were countless patterns on the surface of the robe, containing supreme profundities. This robe was also known as a Dharma robe. It was the manifestation of supreme laws. This is below in the monarch manner, Jingqiu, Dongbua Yu, Dongbua, Qingyao, as well as Bloodblade, Qiu Qibai, Paragon Huiqing, and the others who were flipping through the books, could not help but raise their heads to look. Although they were obstructed by the buildings, they could still see that figure in the starry sky without needing to utilize any techniques. Wearing a Dharma robe, the surface of his body was emitting a warm light. The light wasn't dazzling, but it was everywhere. It shone into everyone's heart. Bloodblade and the others could see it. Father? Dongbua Yu, Dongbua, Qingyao and the others could clearly see the appearance of that figure. This Monarch Green, Primal Master, Purgatory Ruler, Temporal Island Lord and the others were in their own nests. Although they were separated by an unknown distance, they could still see that dazzling figure standing in the starry sky. Powerful existences. World deities, transcendents, ordinary mortals, and even the beasts. Every living being in the entire universe could see that figure in the starry sky. That figure seemed to be emitting boundless light, and was wearing a Dharma robe. The weaker one was, the harder it was for them to see Dongbua Shuiying's appearance. Dharma robe, boundless light. Bloodblade raised his head and muttered in shock. This is the 3rd level of the heart realm, my heart as the world? This was a legend. In the many epochs of this universe, only 2 people had achieved this. One was the Sword Master, and the other was Ancestor Devil. And now, there was finally a 3rd person who had achieved this. End of this chapter. Chapter 889. Bloodblade, Monarch Green, Primal Master, Pang Yi, and the others looked at the dazzling figure emitting light in the starry sky. They felt a myriad of emotions in their hearts. With their strength, they had long heard of this legend. Wearing a robe, the light is boundless, allowing all sentient beings to see that dazzling figure. But this was ultimately a legend, and none had seen it before. Today, they saw it. All of them had cultivated for a long period, yet they were stuck at the 2nd level of the heart realm. They could not step into the 3rd level. One had to be without perplexity, worries, and fear, with an empty heart realm, pressing forward with an indomitable will, and a single thought. Only then could one reach the first level of heart realm, heart like colored glass. Reaching this level was considered the most basic requirement for one to have some accomplishments in the laws and profound mysteries. When the heart was like a blade, all obstacles could be split apart by the heart. On the path of cultivation, nobody could change his heart. Reaching this second level meant that one would have the potential to become an ultra-strong expert. Even devour-class existences that did not have a high requirement on the heart realm, and even primal caves realm giants could stop at this second level. The third level of heart realm was my heart as the world. When one comprehended this step, due to various reasons, existences like Ancestor Devil who worshipped the strong and even constructed the dark abyss, causing countless demons to kill one another, existences like Ancestor Devil had also reached the third level of heart realm. Voidwalker Gucci was not willing to be restricted. He was free and unrestrained, fleeing everywhere. He had also reached the third level of heart realm. And Dongbua Shuang wanted to shoulder the sky and protect the masses. He had also broken through this feeling. Dongbua Shuang looked at the robe and the light emitted by his body. With a thought, he retracted the light, and the robe disappeared. He looked into his consciousness and examined his soul. Currently, his soul was emitting a bright light that illuminated his entire consciousness. His soul was also wearing a layer of robe, greatly increasing the strength of his soul. Even the willpower contained within had become incredibly strong. Strictly speaking, previously, Dongbua Shuiying's realm was sufficiently high. He was a unity realm expert, and his Tao of Mirage and other Taos had reached an extremely profound level. His Void Walker lineage had also reached the 40th level. The strength of his soul was absolutely at the peak amongst Unity Realm experts. But because his heart realm had not broken through, the willpower emitted from his soul was not condensed enough, and its power was not strong enough. Now, his mental state had changed. Although his understanding of the Tao and the lineage of Void Walkers did not improve, his soul seemed to have gone from a loose state to a condensed state. His will was also condensed, and his might increased greatly. Even his heart power had greatly increased. In his mind, he pondered and deduced the profound mysteries, and his efficiency also increased rapidly. It was as if he was constantly eating some supplementary items to aid his cultivation. Jingqiu. Dongbua Shuang looked down and saw his wife looking up. He took a step forward. Swoosh. Dongbua Shuang landed beside his wife, Jingqiu. At this time, Dongbua Yu, Dongbua Qingyao, and the others rushed over as well. Father, did you just reach the legendary third stage of the mental state? Brother Dongbua. Snow Eagle. Chichio Bai, Paragon Huaqing, Chihua Laozu, and the others who were in the Empyrean residence could not conceal the shock in their hearts as they rushed over. Let alone them, even Bloodblade was very shocked. Bloodblade even personally asked, Snow Eagle, how did you break through your mental state? Is there any trick? Since God Emperor had spoken, the others did not dare to interrupt. Bloodblade was indeed puzzled because he had yet to break through his mental state. How did you break through? Dongbua Shuang was stunned. It's mainly the understanding of the soul. I saw many weak beings dying from the shockwaves of experts. There were even some experts who would slaughter countless weak beings just because they were angry. No matter how powerful these experts were, they were still weak. If the experts were to focus on their own safety, or they would wantonly slaughter others. With the addition of some devour-class cultivators, how could the weak have any hope of survival? Dongbua Shuang carefully explained his understanding to his master. Bloodblade frowned as he listened. He understood everything. But it did not move him at all. In his eyes, even if the sky collapsed, there would be someone taller to hold it up. In the past, he was the strongest expert in the cosmos. When the ancestor mother religion invaded, he did his best to prevent the cosmos from being transformed. It was also for the sake of his race not being wiped out. But to protect the weak? Bloodblade questioned himself. He was just an ordinary void god. Above him were the Unity Realm, Primal Chaos Realm, and even the legendary Final Realm existences. Even if the sky collapsed, it would not be his turn. Occasionally, he would be willing to take pity on others. But if his cultivation could improve, he would not even blink even if a large group of weak beings died. As long as the entire race was not wiped out, so what if a group of them died? Dongwu Shuang saw this and said, "Teacher, I've read through many books in the Great Void Heaven Temple. This heart realm improvement has to depend on one's own comprehension. It is useless no matter what others say." Amen. Bloodblade nodded. He believed that there were many ways to improve one's heart realm. Even Ancestor Devil could reach the 3rd level of heart realm, and it was possible for him to do so too. Snow Eagle, you should not risk your life for the sake of the weak. That is too tiring, and you might even lose your life, Bloodblade said. Cultivators should be more cautious and try to stay away from danger. Dongwu Shuang nodded with a smile. Teacher, I understand. Those with greater strength can shoulder more responsibilities. Those with lesser strength can shoulder less responsibilities. If you blindly send yourself to death, you might not even be able to protect yourself, much less others. It was useless to talk about a breakthrough in the heart realm. Just like telling others no perplexity, no worries, no fear, empty the heart realm, move forward with indomitable will, and have one thought. Could it be that cultivators could easily reach the 1st level of the heart realm, heart as colored glass? Ultimately, they had to temper themselves. Touching the heart realm was a change in their understanding of the world from the deepest level of their soul. It was useless even if it went against one's own heart. Because the moment it went against one's will, it would be hard for one's heart realm to maintain one thought. They could not even reach the 1st level of cultivation. They would instinctively reject it. Therefore, it was useless to say anything more. The books in the Great Void Heaven Temple did not have any descriptions, and only allowed cultivators to comprehend it themselves. A day later, after receiving a group of cultivator friends, Dongwu Shuang finally arrived at the primal chaos void outside the cosmos. During the previous day, many of the friends who came to visit him had come to seek enlightenment with pious sincerity. Dongwu Shuang had explained a little at the start, but he soon understood that it was useless no matter how much he said. In fact, the more he said, the more confused they would be. It would be terrible if their hearts broke down. Therefore, Dongwu Shuang decided not to say anything more, only saying that they needed to comprehend it themselves. Who? In the vast primal chaos void, the white-robed Dongwu Shuang stood there. It's time to give it a try. Let's see how much my strength has improved. After his breakthrough in the heart realm, he had not had the time to practice his moves. This was because the environment within the cosmos was relatively weak, and it was more suitable for mortals and transcendents. The stronger one was, the greater the influence they would have on the cosmos. Like those at the void god level, they would harm the cosmos, accelerating the aging of this epoch and eventually destroying it. Currently, Dongwu Ying's strength had reached the boundary of the primal chaos realm. If he were to practice some combat moves, even if he carefully isolated them, he would still harm the cosmos. Multilayered dark world. With a thought, Dongwu Ying displayed this simplified secret technique that he created himself. Hua hua hua! In the distance, layers upon layers of the dark world appeared out of thin air. This dark world had as many as 600 layers of membranes. It caused these multilayered dark world to descend into reality. At that moment, it frantically devoured the surrounding energy, causing the entire primal chaos void to surge violently. Furthermore, with a ping sound, all 600 layers of dark world were destroyed at the same time. This power continued stacking up, reaching a stage that startled Dongwu Shuang. This power is comparable to the Black Gourd Fireball. Strictly speaking, the improvement of his heart force had greatly increased his strength. He could barely be considered at the 6th level Star Pagoda strength. Previously, he could only unleash 120 layers. The moment his heart realm broke through, his heart force rapidly became stronger, allowing him to unleash a total of 600 layers. That was exactly 5 times. It was not much at all. It was indeed a coincidence. There's still the sky punishment edge. Dongbu Shuang began concentrating. A long time ago, when he was still in closed-door cultivation within the great void heaven temple, he had comprehended all sorts of profound mysteries within the second style of dark world, the sky punishment edge, with his talent in the Tao of mirage. But until now, he could not unleash it. Dongbu Shuang had flipped through many books left behind by Emperor Juyin, and vaguely deduced that it should be a problem with his heart realm. Even though he was 70 to 80% confident, he still had to test it out. Descend. With a thought, Dongbu Shuang attempted to unleash it. A new chapter began. He was currently sorting out the plot. There was only one chapter today. Chapter 890. Han Long. There was a strand of light within the illusory world. It was condensed and pure. It seemed unremarkable, yet it was the core of the entire illusory world. In the blink of an eye, this strand of light abruptly became dazzling, turning into a dazzling blade. The entire illusory world dissipated, and this dazzling blade descended from the illusory world into reality. My heart is the heart of the world. When the heart of the world is angry, it will be the sky punishment. Dongbu Shuang completely understood the true meaning of this move. Sky punishment edge. In the past, even though he had comprehended all sorts of profound mysteries, he lacked the most core heart realm. Just like drawing a painting, even if one's technique was proficient, if one did not have the emotions that came from the heart, it would be hard to complete a great painting. The second style of dark world, sky punishment edge, other than having to grasp all the profound mysteries within, one had to have a powerful heart realm to command everything. Only then would one be qualified to send down the sky punishment. Hong, this blade that descended from the void absorbed the surrounding energy before finally condensing it. The original surging primal chaos void had completely solidified, and the vast primal chaos energy had calmed down. The entire primal chaos void had become completely still. The sky punishment edge suppressed everything. It caused the originally operating laws within a certain region to be suppressed by the sky punishment edge. If one said that the 600 layers of dark world relied on the stacking of quantity to induce a qualitative change, it would have a power comparable to primal chaos experts. And the sky punishment edge had a degree of profoundness that could match some primal chaos giant techniques. It was born as the sky punishment. See, the blade light instantly slashed out. It cut across billions of kilometers. Even Dongbu Shuang could not see the end of the blade light with his naked eyes. He could only rely on his perception of the void to determine the distance that the blade light slashed across. This move is even stronger than the 600 layers of dark world. It is even slightly stronger than the fireball from the black gourd. Dongbu Shuang praised. This isn't just powerful. Even the degree of profoundness is much higher. This is the true strength of a 6th-level Star Pagoda expert. He could not help but feel admiration for that fallen Dark World Master. To be able to create such a move, it was indeed impressive. Even though the Black Gourd Fireball was powerful, it was a little clumsy. Even if he were to control it himself, he would have to combine it with the Plate Ripple Diagram. The Plate Ripple Diagram would suppress the opponent, while the Black Gourd Fireball would deal the fatal blow. Only then could he swiftly kill someone at the level of Chiwu Palace Master. But Sky Punishment Edge was different. It descended from nothingness, and could directly land beside the enemy. It was extremely difficult to resist. The weakness of the Lord of Darkness is that his self-protection is too weak. Dongbu Shuang thought. The Sky Punishment Edge was a purely offensive technique. Dark World Master had reached this level in offense, but his defense should be comparable to ordinary 5th-level Star Pagoda experts. Buzz! Dongbu Shuang thought. 3 gigantic illusory worlds appeared in the chaotic void in front of him, each of which had heavenly punishment blades brewing within them. Yes, using 3 heavenly punishment blades at the same time is my limit. Dongbu Shuang thought. Even though he had some energy remaining, it was insufficient to unleash the 4th Sky Punishment Blade. The power of the Sky Punishment Edge was great, but it consumed a lot of heart energy too. Primal Chaos Realm. Dongbu Shuang thought. As he unleashed the sky punishment edge, he finally had a vague understanding of the final great realm of Void God, Primal Chaos Realm. It was extremely difficult to step into the Primal Chaos Realm from the Unity Realm. It was harder than stepping into the Void God realm from a true God. The biggest hurdle in the path of cultivation was stepping into the final realm from the Primal Chaos Realm. Next was stepping into the Primal Chaos Realm from the Unity Realm. Many 5th-level Star Pagoda experts were confused about what the Primal Chaos Realm was. But it was amazing for Dongbu Shuang to have some understanding of it. Primal Chaos. It contains endless possibilities. My illusory world could contain the sky punishment. It could similarly contain other possibilities. When everything is muddled, that would be primal chaos. Dongbu Shuang thought. Life. From nothing, one would cultivate step by step, becoming stronger and stronger. One would grasp more and more things, becoming more and more complex. But this complexity would become a hindrance to cultivation. That was why it would gradually converge into a complete law system before finally fusing into one. But even if it was fusing into one would still reach a certain limit in the path of cultivation. Breakthrough again? One had to break through the limit, allowing oneself to be filled with endless possibilities. That was primal chaos. Only primal chaos could give birth to the most perfect cosmos. That was the final realm of cultivation. My Tao of Mirage has been condensed to the pinnacle, turning into the Mirage origin. Dongbu Shuang thought, to break through the Mirage origin and turn into primal chaos. He grasped the illusory world and formed the sky punishment. That was why he had a vague understanding of the primal chaos realm. But to truly take that step was too difficult. Perhaps the Void Walker system might be easier. Dongbu Shuang thought. If he wanted to break through in the laws and profound mysteries system, he had to comprehend it thoroughly. Currently, he could not pry into the profoundness of the primal chaos realm in the Ripple and Slaughter Tao. He could see the Tao of Mirage that had the highest talent, but he knew that it was not something that could be achieved within a short period. On the contrary, he had reached the 40th level of the Void Walker system. One more step and he would reach the 41st level, and that would be the Primal Chaos Realm. The reason why he could reach the 40th level so quickly was due to the incomplete set of 4 diagrams absolute art left behind by Emperor Julian. It was during the process of comprehending the first diagram that complemented the Walker's hidden secret, allowing him to continuously break through as a Void Walker. I am currently comprehending the second diagram. Maybe I might be able to step into the Primal Chaos Realm in the future with my Void Walker system. Dongbu Shuang thought. Let's return. Dongbu Shuang took a step before passing through the cosmos membrane and returning to the Black Fog Sea Monarch residence. In terms of strength, he could already fight against some of the weaker primal chaos giants. Heaven Weeping Sect Master was considered slightly more experienced and could get through the 7th level of Star Pagoda. There were also some weaker ones like the Devour class primal chaos giants who were stuck at the 6th level. Dongbu Shuang was currently standing at the same height as them. Such experts were rare even in the sacred world. They were absolutely giants of an area. There were so many inner hall elders in the Great Void Heaven Temple, yet none of them reached the 6th floor of Star Tower. One could see how high Dongbu Shuang's talent in the Tao of Mirage was. Of course, it was all thanks to Dark World Master for creating this absolute art. Time was merciless. In the blink of an eye, 80 million years had passed. Monarch residence. A white-robed Dongbu Shuang sat there drinking wine. In the distance, Jing Qiu was currently practicing her sword techniques. These were all sword techniques that Dongbu Shuang had collected from the outside world. Some of them even contained some pointers from the seniors. Jing Qiu naturally loved to practice these formidable sword techniques. It's a pity that I can't transcend. Dongbu Shuang felt a faint pressure. So what if he was strong? Even though he grasped the ultra-long-distance teleportation and saw a higher world, even though he comprehended the My Heart as the world and was able to display the sky punishment edge, allowing him to stand amongst the true giants of the 5 great sacred worlds, none of these could compare to his desire for his wife to transcend. Why can't I find the scarlet cloud pomegranate core? Dongbu Shuang was slightly anxious. I'll wait for a few more days. If I really can't find it, I can only thicken my face and ask Forefather for help. Forefather was after all a cosmos god. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Dongbu Shuang was not willing to ask for help from a cosmos god. Elder Dongbu, the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World's Chumu City's Eastern Unicorn Hall has a scarlet cloud pomegranate core for exchange. A message came through the communication talisman. Dongbu Shuang could not help but reveal a joyous look. He was so excited that he could not help but crush the wine cup in his hand. This caused Jing Qiu, who was practicing her sword in the distance, to stop. She turned towards her husband in bewilderment. How strong was her husband? Why could he not control his strength and crush the wine cup? Snow Eagle, what's wrong? Jing Qiu asked. What happened? Haha, right, a joyous matter has happened. A very joyous matter. Dongbu Shuang laughed. I'll immediately go out for a trip. Wait for me. When I return, you will know. Chapter 891. Dongbu Shuang did not hesitate. He immediately flew into the sky, causing the void above to distort. Dongbu Shuang entered it and disappeared. In the next instant, in the distant Eastern Unicorn Sacred World of the 5 great sacred worlds, the space above the wilderness suddenly distorted. Dongbu Shuang walked out from within. He looked up at the sun to determine his position. I have deviated by quite a bit. If the distance was too far, most ultra-long distance teleportations would have deviations unless one left behind a spatial mark. But to Dongbu Shuang, there was no need for him to make arrangements since he was rushing over personally. Because no matter how far it was, 2 ultra-long distance teleportations would suffice. The first time, he arrived close to the target. The second time, because the distance was close, he could reach the target directly. Who? The next time he appeared, Dongbu Shuang was already at the city gates of Chumu City. He entered the city gates and with another step, he arrived at the Eastern Unicorn Hall. The Eastern Unicorn Hall was similar to the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion. They opened their doors to welcome many cultivators to trade with them. At this moment, within a side hall of the Eastern Unicorn Hall in Chumu City, a dispirited middle-aged man with a scarlet horn was seated cross-legged and drinking wine by himself. He frowned slightly and was clearly troubled by something. Since an expert from the Great Void Heaven Temple is seeking to purchase the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, he must want it. And treasures like the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core are usually bought by primal chaos giants. The scarlet-horned middle-aged man thought, with his strength, I believe he will agree to my request. But if he doesn't, I can only spend Origin World Rocks to ask other experts for help. The scarlet-horned middle-aged man pondered. An attendant walked in from outside the hall. The single-horned middle-aged man immediately asked, Has the guest arrived? The guest from the Great Void Heaven Temple has arrived. The attendant respectfully reported. So fast? The eyes of the single-horned middle-aged man brightened. He should have asked an expert for help and directly teleported over. For safety, he had spent 10 Origin World Rocks from the myriad ancient sacred world to hire a primal chaos giant who specialized in ultra-long distance teleportation to send him to the Eastern Unicorn sacred world. The horned middle-aged man hastily stood up and instructed. Lead the way. Yes. The attendant obediently led the way. Very soon, within a palace hall, the Eastern Unicorn Hall's branch hall master was personally accompanying him. With a single glance, the single-horned middle-aged man saw a white-robed teenager sitting cross-legged by the side of a long table. Currently, Shuang had concealed his aura and changed his appearance, so others could not recognize his identity. After all, the treasures this time were too precious. Even primal chaos giants would be jealous. Him? From the looks of it, he isn't at the primal chaos realm. The single-horned middle-aged man felt a knot forming in his heart. Please take a seat, Dongbu Shuang said from afar. The single-horned middle-aged man sat down. No matter what, those who could afford the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core were not ordinary people. I heard you have a scarlet cloud pomegranate core? I've been looking for it. Tell me, what's the price? Dongbu Shuang asked directly. It was no secret that he urgently needed the scarlet cloud pomegranate core. The price isn't high, just 5,000 origin world stones, said the single-horned middle-aged man. Dongbu Shuang was startled. The normal price of the scarlet cloud pomegranate core was around 6,000 origin world stones. If he took the initiative to purchase it, most people would increase the price. The person in front of him was actually lowering the price? But I have a condition. The single-horned middle-aged man looked at Dongbu Shuang. Speak. Dongbu Shuang remained calm. This was within his expectations. Other than the 5,000 origin world stones, I hope that you can help me settle 3 matters. The single-horned middle-aged man said. The first matter is that you have to bring a young fellow over to the myriad ancient sacred world. He has just become a true god. I need you to accept him as a disciple and ensure that he can cultivate safely for 1,000,000,000,000 years. Furthermore, you have to provide him with the cultivation resources he requires. Naturally, you only have to provide him with the resources to reach the unity realm. If he doesn't become a void god in 1,000,000,000,000 years, the resources you have to pay will be lesser. I'll bring him away after 1,000,000,000,000 years. But you have to guarantee his safety in 1,000,000,000,000 years. The second matter is that you have to go to the myriad ancient sacred world and destroy a superpower called the Chief Devil Cliff. The 2 commanders of the Chief Devil Cliff must die. The 2 of them might specialize in survival, so I hope that you can get rid of the 2 of them within 100 billion years. There is plenty of time. The third matter is that there is a religion in the myriad ancient sacred world called the Green Ping Sect. The young fellow I need you to save is also a disciple of this Green Ping Sect. I hope that you can protect this Green Ping Sect for 1,000,000,000,000 years. Within 1,000,000,000,000 years, the Green Ping Sect must not be destroyed. The location of the sect must not be destroyed. Dongbu Shuang immediately began gathering information through the communication talisman. Myriad ancient sacred world. It was governed by Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu. The 2 of them had practically split the entire myriad ancient sacred world into 2, with each ruling half of the region. And the region governed by Jie Zhu was famous for being chaotic. Over here, the Devour class cultivation was completely open to the public. Many experts were wantonly fighting and devouring. This place was even more chaotic than the Dark Abyss in his hometown Cosmos, of which the Chief Devil Cliff was one of the fiercest superpowers. The Green Ping Sect was slightly weaker. These 2 superpowers belonged to the region governed by Jie Zhu. The 2 commanders of the Chief Devil Cliff were both at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. They had devoured countless existences and were infamous. The Green Ping Sect was an ancient cultivation system sect. They had an extremely formidable Green Ping inheritance, and many ancient cultivators had joined this sect. One had to know that inheritance was very important for the ancient cultivation system. Resources were important too. If one did not have an inheritance and had to rely on himself to explore, he might be able to become stronger, but he would not be able to dig out enough potential. The same starting point, but different inheritances would result in a world of difference in strength in the future. Dongbu Shuang had obtained a large number of ancient cultivation inheritances from the secret vault of Emperor Jueyun. It's a pity that even though he had memorized many of them, they were too complex. Without truly comprehending them, he could not impart them either. These are my conditions. The single-horned middle-aged man looked at Dongbu Shuang. If you agree, then this transaction will be completed. Of course, if you don't do any of these 3 tasks well, you will have to pay 1,000 origin world rocks as compensation. If you don't do all 3 tasks well, you will have to pay 3,000 origin world rocks. The Eastern Unicorn Hall will be the witness. Dongbu Shuang looked at the single-horned middle-aged man. Who is the little fellow you want me to bring away? I will tell you once you agree to my conditions. The single-horned middle-aged man said. I have to rush to the myriad ancient sacred world, and I will need some time to reach the Green Ping Sect. If the little fellow I want to bring dies along the way, the Green Ping Sect will be destroyed. Are you blaming me for that? Dongbu Shuang asked. From the moment the transaction is completed. You have to reach the green pink sect within 1,000 years. If the little fellow dies within 1,000 years, the green pink sect will be destroyed. Naturally, I won't blame you. The single-horned middle-aged man sneered. But you better not send experts in the dark to destroy the green pink sect within 1,000 years. If you do that, I will definitely not rest until you die. Dongbu Shuang chuckled. He did not place the strength of this person in front of him in his eyes. But within the Eastern Unicorn Hall, Dongbu Shuang would not act recklessly. Even though he had the strength to destroy everything, killing a guest within the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world would mean offending the various sacred grounds of the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. Even a primal case giant would not be able to bear the consequences. Rest assured, I disdain to do so, Dongbu Shuang said. Within a year, I will reach the green pink sect, Dongbu Shuang said. I will do my best in whatever you say. As for the green pink sect, as long as it isn't a primal chaos giant attacking with his true body, I can guarantee its safety. All right. The single-horned middle-aged man's eyes brightened. Reach in a year? The distance between the two sacred worlds was extremely far. To reach the green pink sect within a year, the price he had to pay wouldn't be small. You agree? The single-horned middle-aged man asked. I agree. Dongbu Shuang nodded. These weren't difficult for him. Protect the little fellow's safety? A little fellow who had just become a true god, he could just bring him back to his hometown cosmos. Kill the two leaders of the Chief Devil Cliff? Dongbu Shuang didn't care about the other party's strength. He cared more about the other party's temperament. Since they were two devils who had devoured countless people, he wouldn't mind killing them. Protect a sect? He pondered in his heart and thought of an idea. Ha ha ha, with the Eastern Unicorn Hall as a witness, I believe you can do it. The single-horned middle-aged man flipped his hand and a jade box appeared. The scarlet cloud pomegranate core is inside. Dongbu Shuang revealed a grin. He had finally succeeded. Chapter 892. East Unicorn Hall was the witness of the transaction. Only then did the single-horned middle-aged man relax. He was too nervous. Ever since he obtained the precious scarlet cloud pomegranate core, he was constantly nervous. He even felt that the myriad ancient sacred world was too dangerous and killing was too common. He spent over 1,000,000 years to be transported to the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. In terms of order, the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world was better than the 7-star Oceanic sacred world. Before the transaction was completed, he was very nervous. He might have quoted the price of 5,000 Origin World Rocks, but in reality, he hadn't even seen 100 Origin World Rocks. With these Origin World Rocks, my plan can be carried out. My strength can also greatly increase. The single-horned middle-aged man thought. He had too many plans, Pengner, senior uncle needs time to cultivate. 1,000,000,000,000 years. I will definitely return to the Green Ping sect. At that time, I will become the strongest expert in the Green Ping sect and control it. The myriad ancient sacred world, especially the region ruled by Jiezu, was too dangerous. It wasn't suitable for him to cultivate. Yunpeng? When Dongbu Shuang received the information, he couldn't help but ask. How long have you been away from the Green Ping sect? A few million years. The single-horned middle-aged man replied. Are you sure that Yunpeng is still in the Green Ping sect? Dongbu Shuang asked. The single-horned middle-aged man was startled. Should be. I think you should investigate. Dongbu Shuang smiled and looked at the Hall Master of the Eastern Unicorn Hall. Chifu Hall Master, it shouldn't be hard for your Eastern Unicorn Hall to investigate if this Yunpeng brat is still in the Green Ping sect, right? One Origin World Rock. The Chifu Hall Master smiled. All right. The single-horned middle-aged man replied. Just one? The current him was rich and didn't care about this. Dongbu Shuang accompanied the single-horned middle-aged man to drink while waiting for news from the Eastern Unicorn Hall. Behind the Eastern Unicorn Hall were the Blade Imperial City, Void God Hall, Star City, and Ancestor Bone Palace. Among them, there were some powerful ancient cultivators that could investigate the Green Ping sect in the myriad ancient sacred world. After a moment, "The kid called Yumping is not in the Green Ping sect," Palace Master Chifu said. "I'll also give you a piece of information for free. When I was investigating Green Ping sect, I discovered Green Ping sect disciples discussing that a group of disciples was abducted. Yumping was one of them." The single-horned middle-aged man's heart was in his throat, and he heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that he had been captured. At the very least, it was possible that he was still alive. He hastily asked, "Where is he now?" "How would I know?" Palace Master Chifu shook his head. "If we don't know the exact location, it won't be that easy to find." "It's possible," Dongbua Shuang said. "Just like in the Great Void Heaven Temple, when he was tracking down the assassin who had tried to assassinate him, if it wasn't for the Myriad Realms Tavern Master's obstruction, he would have already found out who the assassin was." Palace Master Chifu looked at Dongbua Shuang and nodded. "Yes, you can, but it's much more troublesome. You'll need 200 Origin World Rocks for each check." 200? The single-horned middle-aged man's eyes widened. He only spent 10 Origin World Rocks to teleport over from the myriad ancient sacred world. Most experts who could get through the 4th level Star Pagoda might not even have 200 Origin World Rocks worth of treasures. Just a simple check? You can choose not to check. Palace Master Chifu chuckled. Check! The single-horned middle-aged man gritted his teeth. This was the person he cared about the most, and he had to find out the truth. This time, he waited for a long time. 4 hours later, Palace Master Chifu said, "I've checked. This brat called Yumping is currently a slave of the myriad ancient sacred world's Golden Eclipse Nation Devil Eye God Prefecture." Golden Eclipse Nation? Slave? The single-horned middle-aged man's expression turned slightly pale. Golden Eclipse Nation. It was a relatively strong superpower in the region governed by the myriad ancient sacred world master. The Golden Eclipse King was even one of the many personal disciples of Jiazu. "Within a year, I'll reach the Golden Eclipse Nation and save this brat called Yumping," Dongbua Shuang said. "Are you confident?" The single-horned middle-aged man looked at Dongbua Shuang excitedly. From his point of view, just the identity of the Golden Eclipse King as Jiazu's personal disciple was enough for him to do whatever he wanted in the myriad ancient sacred world. Dongbua Shuang chuckled. This fellow might be lucky to obtain the treasure, but his understanding of the upper echelons of the 3 great sacred worlds was still too little. "I'm confident," Dongbua Shuang said. After the transaction was settled, Dongbua Shuang left the Eastern Unicorn sacred world alone and returned to his hometown cosmos. Within his hometown cosmos, Black Fog sees monarch residence. Jingqiu, Jingqiu. Dongbua Shuang returned to the residence, and shouted when he saw the figure of his wife who was training her sword. Jingqiu turned around and chuckled. "Snow Eagle, you're back so quickly? You said that there's a joyous occasion, but you didn't mention it in detail. What is it?" "Ha!" Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but laugh. This was a joyous occasion. It wasn't easy for him to obtain the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. On one hand, he had to reach his current level of strength. On the other hand, he had to be lucky enough to enter Emperor Jiuyun's Treasure Cove. If it wasn't for the Treasure Cove, how would he be able to afford the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core? If he had to slowly accumulate it over time, he really didn't know how long he would need to accumulate it. What exactly is the joyous occasion? Hurry up and tell me! Jingqiu couldn't help but urge. Dongbua Shuang chuckled. He then waved his hand and instantly, a hall appeared out of nowhere. It landed on the grassland and occupied an area of 50 miles. Jingqiu could feel that the aura of this hall was extraordinary with a single glance. Just the formless aura alone was enough to make her feel pressured. "Follow me in." Dongbua Shuang brought his wife into this hall. "From today onwards you will cultivate here." Dongbua Shuang smiled. As he spoke, he flipped his hand and took out a black jade bottle. With a flick of his hand, The black jade bottle flew towards a notch on the wall of the hall and was stuck there. Wang, golden runic patterns appeared on the surface of the black jade bottle. The entire hall was filled with runic patterns as a faint fragrance permeated the air. Just by smelling the fragrance, one's soul would feel incomparably tranquil. This fragrance can last for 380 million years. Dongbua Shuang spoke as he flipped his hand and took out a jade box. Opening it, a fragrant green bamboo shoot could be seen within the box. Although it looked like a bamboo shoot, upon closer inspection, there were many differences. There were layers of translucent runic patterns on its surface. Eat it. Dongbua Shuang looked at his wife. Jingqiu just smelled the fragrance emitted from the jade box, and she felt her soul rumbling. She could instantly comprehend and think. The efficiency was so high that it was almost comparable to the enlightenment she had experienced in the past. She knew that her husband had left his hometown cosmos to search for treasures so that they could transcend. As for Dongbua, Qin Yao, and Dongbua Yu, they had relied on themselves to break through. She was the only one left. Her husband was previously overjoyed, and it should be because of this treasure. Amen. Jingqiu directly picked it up. She lightly bit on it. It was very crispy. The moment it entered her mouth, it melted completely, turning into a green energy that fused into her body. She felt a soul-trembling sensation that was even more stimulating than when she smelled the fragrance. Quick, eat everything, Dongbua Shuang said. Jingqiu ate it in 2 mouthfuls before eating it. She did not know what kind of precious treasure she had just eaten. If she were to exchange this scarlet cloud pomegranate core, she would be able to obtain a puppet life form that was similar in strength to the wild black dog from the starting ground. The price of creating a cosmos was not even comparable to this scarlet cloud pomegranate core. Some of the newer and weaker primal chaos giants might not be able to afford this scarlet cloud pomegranate core even if they sold all their treasures. Chapter 893. Not only that. That black jade bottle contained the Qianyi water spiritual liquid. It could last for 380 million years, and it cost Dongbua Shuang 1,200 origin world rocks to buy. This god palace was even refined by a cosmos god, costing 900 origin world rocks. And adding on the scarlet cloud pomegranate core, he had to pay a total of 7,100 origin world rocks. After that, he still had to complete 3 tasks for that single-horned middle-aged man. This is the limit of what I can do, Dongbua Shuang thought. Because in history, there were cosmos gods and primal chaos giants who helped their stage 4 world deities transcend. Hence, they had the so-called best cultivation technique, the Qianyi water spiritual liquid complemented with the god palace and the scarlet cloud pomegranate core. After eating the scarlet cloud pomegranate core, it should be able to last for more than 300 million years, Dongbua Shuang said. Jingqiu, you have to cherish every moment you have to cultivate during these 300 million years. Amen. Jingqiu nodded. She could not suppress it any longer. At this moment, large amounts of inspiration flashed in her soul. She just had to divert a bit of her heart force to deduce these inspirations, allowing her to gain a huge amount of comprehension. This feeling was even more exaggerated than having an epiphany. This was normal too. Dongbua Shuang had only eaten a supplementary spiritual fruit worth 50 origin world rocks. Furthermore, he was much stronger than Jingqiu. Jingqiu was not a true god after all. She was just a stage 4 world deity. With these precious treasures on her, the efficiency of her comprehension was more exaggerated than having an epiphany. Furthermore, because her soul was too weak, the energy of the scarlet cloud pomegranate core would only be exhausted after 300 million years. Hurry up and leave. I want to enter closed-door cultivation, Jingqiu said. Any cultivator would dream of having such a cultivation state. Dongbua Shuang chuckled before leaving. Hong Long. The palace door closed. Jingqiu immediately entered closed-door cultivation. Dongbua Shuang looked at the closed palace hall in front of him. He could not help but grin. He could completely guess the current state of his wife, a cultivation state that is much higher than having an epiphany. Furthermore, it can be maintained for more than 300 million years. If she could not transcend under such a state, I have nothing to say. 5 great sacred worlds. To a universe god in the fourth heaven, this was the best condition to assist in cultivation. As for the heart of eternity and the origin world fruit, they weren't used to aid cultivation. Rather, they were used to forcefully transcend eternity. It's time to complete the 3 things I promised. Dongbush Shuang thought. This palace hall was refined by a cosmos god. With his wife inside, there was no need for him to worry about anyone causing trouble. His wife controlled the hall, and even he couldn't break it. You are Qin Yao, your mother is currently in seclusion. Don't disturb her. Dongbush Shuang transmitted a message to his children to prevent them from worrying about their mother. Swoosh. Following that, Dongbush Shuang soared into the sky. The space above him distorted and he flew right into it. When he reappeared, he was already in the Myriad Ancient Sacred World. Myriad Ancient Sacred World. When dealing with the 2 great religions, it stood on the side of the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and the 7-star Oceanic Sacred World. But in terms of strength, it was ranked second in the 5 great sacred worlds. Naturally, it had the qualifications to be arrogant. For instance, Jiazu wasn't any weaker than Ancestor Mother. And the mysterious Wu Zu was famous for his many techniques. He wasn't any different from Ancestor Mother. Both Jiazu and Wu Zu were extremely arrogant. They had practically split this sacred world into 2. Both ruled their own regions without interfering with each other. In the region ruled by Wu Zu, the hex cultivation system was the most flourishing. Many hex cultivators lived in seclusion. The hex system preferred to spend long periods in closed-door research. They had all sorts of strange techniques too. One had to admit, at least in this era, the hex system was superior to the laws and profound mysteries system in all aspects, be it in terms of combat power at the highest level, or at the primal chaos realm, or unity realm. The laws and profound mysteries system was mainly broken in the middle. In the past, the creator of the laws and profound mysteries system, Ancestor Tsung, died. For a long period of time, the laws and profound mysteries system declined. Fortunately, Forefather Tianyu rose and constructed the Great Void Heaven Temple. But in terms of combat power, be it Forefather Tianyu or the current Sword Master, they were at the 3rd level amongst the final realm existences. Even now, in terms of reputation, the laws and profound mysteries system was slightly weaker than the hex system. Golden Eclipse Nation, Devil Eye God Residence. Pa! 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 In one of the small courtyards of this luxurious residence, a green-skinned giant was currently whipping a young man. The young man did not dare to resist. Naturally, he would only be asking for trouble if he resisted. He could only endure it. The whip landed on his body, causing him to roll on the ground. As he was whipped, many savage wounds appeared on his body. Following that, they rapidly healed. Master, the green-skinned giant respectfully said to the female leader of the group, I have finished whipping him 100 times. Humph. This female with a purple scar on her forehead sneered at the young man. In the future, remember this. When you see me, not only must you kneel down, you must also touch the ground with your face. Do you understand? You are just a slave. You must remember your identity. Yes. The young man knelt down, his face completely touching the ground. Amen. Only then did the female acknowledge. She turned around and left. Behind her was a group of subordinates. The surroundings regained its silence. Only then did the young man stand up. He wiped off the dust on his face. He was in so much pain that his body was slightly trembling. The injuries caused by the whip were minor. More importantly, it was too painful. That whip was used by the god residents to punish slaves like them. Every whip was more painful than death. Slave? The young man Yunping thought. He felt sorrowful in his heart. Golden Eclipse Nation, Devil Eye God Residence. I can't even escape from it. The 8 great experts under the Golden Eclipse King had each built a god residence. One could imagine the status of the Devil-Eye God residents within the Golden Eclipse Nation. The Golden Eclipse King was even the personal disciple of Jiezu, slave, forever a slave. Yunpeng obediently lowered his head and began cleaning the courtyard. Being a slave, he was not qualified to raise his head normally. I can't escape. If I want to lead a better life, I can only work hard and cultivate until I become a void god. Only then can I regain my freedom. But I'm too far away from becoming a void god. I don't have any resources, and I don't even have much time to cultivate. The more Yunpeng thought about it, the more sorrowful he felt. But as a cultivator, he would not give up easily. In midair outside the Golden Eclipse Nation, there was a gust of wind blowing in midair. Suddenly, space distorted, and following that, a figure walked out with a so. It was a white-robed young man calmly looking at the towering Golden Eclipse Nation in front. Not many knew that an extremely talented Unity Realm expert who was comparable to a new Primal Chaos Realm giant had arrived outside the city. A 6th-level star pagoda strength. This was sufficient for him to leave behind his name in the history of the 5 great sacred worlds. Golden Eclipse Nation. Dongbush Shuang extended his senses and discovered that this nation's city was being maintained by a vast array. He could not forcefully investigate it. He immediately took a step and arrived by the city gates. The protectors by the city gates treated it as though nothing had happened. It was quite common to see experts who could teleport. Dongbush Shuang walked within the Golden Eclipse Nation. It seemed like he took a few ordinary steps, and others treated it as a short-distance teleportation. But every single step of Dongbush Shuang crossed 5 million kilometers. Just a few steps and he was already standing in front of a luxurious residence. This was none other than one of the 8 great god residences within the Golden Eclipse Nation, the Devil-Eye God residence. Chapter 894. Although Dongbush Shuang was looking at the Demon-Eye God estate in front of him, in truth, he had already used the plate ripple diagram to infiltrate the vast mansion, and discovered the little fellow named Yunpeng who was about to become his disciple. He's actually kneeling so obediently, with his face touching the ground? Dongbush Ying's brows twitched. He suddenly decided not to rush in. Being captured and turned into a slave. That was definitely the lowest point of one's life. Under normal circumstances, a slave would never have the chance to make a name for himself. Hence, he could use this opportunity to observe this future disciple of his. South. Dongbush Shuang turned and took a step forward, arriving at a restaurant not far away. He found a seat, ordered some good wine and delicacies, and ate alone. At the same time, he observed the actions of this disciple of his. He did not dare to be careless. After becoming a slave, he might lose his life at any time. He had to ensure his disciple's safety. Days passed by. Dongbush Shuang continued to observe. The energy of the Scarlet Cloud pomegranate core could last for more than 300 million years. He was not in a hurry to return. Seems like he hasn't given up. Dongbush Shuang revealed a smile. He actually made use of every bit of time he had to cultivate. Even when he was doing manual labor, being reprimanded, being whipped, he was still distracted by his cultivation. Amen? It's time to act. If I don't act now, this disciple of mine will lose his life. Dongbush Shuang calmly stood up. With a single step, he disappeared. Because this was the region governed by Jiezu. Here, killing could be seen everywhere. Devouring groups of living beings was also a common sight. Slavery, punishment, torture, slaughter. It was common for a large group of living beings to be devoured in one gulp. Many of the punishments were to be devoured in one gulp. This was a place that was even darker than the dark abyss. Demon-Eye God Estate. Within a punishment room. The young-looking Yunpeng had his strength sealed and was tied up. There was another person within the punishment room. It was a tall and skinny man with fair skin. He had a handsome appearance, and his dark red eyes were long and narrow. His tongue was very long, and as he licked his lips, he stuck out his tongue. With a swoosh, his tongue streaked across a distance of 2 to 3 meters, licking Yun Peng's skin. Ah! Yun Peng endured the pain. Am I really going to die? He actually caught the attention of the most terrifying expert of the demon-eye divine estate, Paragon Blood Insect. Supremacy Blood Insect was the beloved disciple of the Devil Eye Prefecture's prefecture master, the Devil Eye Nefarious Lord. He had great potential in the Devour cultivation system. Now that he had stepped into the Unity Realm, he could be considered an expert amongst those at the Unity Realm. Venerable Blood Caterpillar was said to be the one who loved to eat the most in the entire mansion. He usually traveled around and devoured countless living beings. Occasionally, when he returned to Golden Eclipse Nation City, he couldn't eat wantonly because of the city's rules. Therefore, Venerable Blood Caterpillar would usually cultivate in seclusion in the city, and would occasionally choose a target to enjoy himself. This time, Yunpeng was chosen. Direct disciple of the Greenping sect? His body actually nurtured the blood of the Azure Peng. Paragon Blood Caterpillar's eyes lit up. He stuck out his tongue and licked another piece of flesh. He ate until his entire mouth was filled with blood. After that, he swallowed every single drop of blood. The taste is truly wonderful. I've heard that if one cultivates the inheritance of the Greenping sect to the pinnacle, one could even transform into a Greenping and step into the primal chaos realm? Woo-woo! After flipping through the newly captured slaves in the mansion and seeing that they are all disciples of the Greenping sect, I carefully inspected them and felt that your aura was the most attractive to me. Indeed, it is true. As Paragon Blood Caterpillar was devouring, there were many little insects within his body that were absorbing the blood and flesh. At the same time, they were able to distinguish the blood of the Azure Peng, and were attempting to fuse the blood into his body. The blood of the Azure Peng is really beneficial to my body, Paragon Blood Caterpillar thought. The Devour cultivation system. Even though most of them were weak, for instance, those at the Unity Realm were usually at the first level Star Pagoda strength, this system would still produce some terrifying existences. For instance, the high and mighty Jiezu proved this point. The majority of those who were accepted as personal disciples by him were extremely talented in the Devour cultivation system. They could refine the essence of the lifeforms they devoured into their bodies, absorbing the merits of the flesh and soul of other lifeforms, allowing their life to become more perfect. Like Jiezu, the strength of his body was much stronger than Blade Emperor and others who cultivated the strongest warrior cultivation system. Jiezu's fleshy body was the most perfect body. Even his soul was similarly strong and perfect. Hence, Wu Zu could not win against Jiezu despite having many techniques. It was publicly acknowledged. Sacred Master was ranked first, followed by Ancestor Mother and Jiezu. The gap between Wu Zu and Ancestor Mother and Jiezu was the smallest. After that was Blade Emperor. Devil Mountain Primogenitor and Jade Light Master were even further behind. Amen. Paragon Blood Caterpillar was currently immersed in enjoyment when his expression suddenly changed. Because a white-robed young man appeared in the punishment room. Who are you? Paragon Blood Caterpillar coldly shouted with slight vigilance. I am his teacher. Dongbush Shuang pointed at Yunpeng, who was tied up by the side. With this point, the chains on Yunpeng's body shattered. Yunpeng looked at this unfamiliar white-robed young man in a daze. He was certain he did not recognize this mysterious expert in front of him. Teacher. Yunpeng did not hesitate to kneel down. He immediately kowtowed. Even though he did not recognize him. But he was clear, this was his only hope of survival. His teacher? Paragon Blood Caterpillar stared at Dongbush Shuang. You are from the Greenping sect? You can say so. Dongbush Shuang answered. In the future, he would have to protect the Greenping sect for 1,000,000,000 years. Hence, he could barely be considered as part of the Greenping sect. Greenping sect, you dare to infiltrate the Devil Eye God Prefecture? You are truly daring. Paragon Blood Caterpillar coldly laughed. Hong Long. The door to the punishment chamber suddenly opened and a person walked in. This was an evil-looking man in a purple robe. There was a mark on his forehead. The moment he entered, his gaze swept across the room and landed on Dongbush Shuang. Teacher. Paragon Blood Caterpillar hurriedly said. This green pink sect actually dares to infiltrate our Devil Eye God Prefecture. When he noticed Donghua Shui Ying's sudden appearance, he did not dare to be careless, and immediately reported to his superiors. This evil-looking man looked at Donghua Shui Ying and scrutinized him. He sneered. You shouldn't be among the experts of the Green Ping sect. However, you dared to trespass my territory. You are truly courting death. I shall let you be my food. With that said, he opened his mouth and was about to devour Donghua Shui Ying. Devil Eye! A majestic voice resounded. The evil-looking man was shocked. A majestic figure appeared in the punishment chamber. He had golden hair and his skin shone with a dazzling golden luster. He had a bloody mouth, a nose that pointed upwards and a pair of eyes that emitted a monstrous domineering aura. Monarch! The evil-looking man did not hesitate to bow respectfully. Monarch! Paragon Blood Caterpillar was so frightened that he hurriedly bowed. This person in front of him was the existence that created the Golden Eclipse Nation, Golden Eclipse King. He was someone that Jie Zhu admired and took in as a personal disciple. It was said that he cultivated the ancient cultivation system, but just the Devour class system gave him a 5th-level Star Pagoda strength. The moment he unleashed his ancient cultivation strength, he would be considered a peak expert amongst those at the 5th-level Star Pagoda strength. His strength was comparable to Donghua Shui Ying before he comprehended the My Heart as the world. Golden Eclipse King was looking at Donghua Shui Ying with a grin. Because when Donghua Shui Ying entered, he had transmitted a message to Golden Eclipse King. That was why Golden Eclipse King rushed over. After all, the 3 great sacred worlds worked closely with the 2 great religions. The higher-ups of the 3 great sacred worlds would also work together. Donghua Shui Ying did not dare to act recklessly against the personal disciple of Jie Zhu, and Golden Eclipse King did not dare to act against an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple either. They regarded each other highly. Donghua Shui Ying did not dare to belittle the other party. After all, he determined that the other party was at the peak of the 5th-level Star Pagoda strength. But it had been a long time since Golden Eclipse King acted. And Golden Eclipse King understood that this elder Donghua had cultivated for a short period, yet he was able to reach such a strength. It was hard to predict how strong he would become in the future. Golden Eclipse King, Donghua Shui Ying said. Elder Donghua. Golden Eclipse King chuckled. The expressions of Devil Eye Nefarious Monarch and Paragon Blood Insect changed. Why is Elder Donghua interested in coming to my Golden Eclipse Nation? Golden Eclipse King chuckled. My disciple has been captured as a slave in this Devil Eye Prefecture. Naturally, I am here. If I were a step slower, I would have been eaten, Donghua Shui Ying said as he glanced at Yunpeng by the side. Yunpeng, who had escaped with his life, felt slightly giddy at this moment. The mysterious expert that the Golden Eclipse King was so polite to was actually his teacher? What happened? Golden Eclipse King's expression sunk. He swept his gaze across Devil Eye Nefarious Monarch by the side. Devil Eye, why would the disciple of Elder Donghua be captured as a slave? Give Elder Donghua an explanation. Yes. Devil Eye Nefarious Monarch's eyebrows shot out a dim violet light that landed on the body of Paragon Blood Insect. Paragon Blood Insect was momentarily stunned. He could not move at all. Devil Eye Nefarious Monarch even opened his mouth and swallowed Paragon Blood Insect whole. Devil Eye Nefarious Monarch was clear. With the temperament of his king, he did not hesitate to eat his disciple as an apology. In the region ruled by Jie Zhu, the hierarchy was even stricter and crueler. Elder Donghua, even though Devil Eye is slightly petty, why don't we just let this matter go? Golden Eclipse King chuckled as he looked at Donghua Shui Ying. Go, this punishment room isn't a good place. Come to my place and have a seat. All right. Donghua Shui Ying nodded. In his heart, he was still shocked at how Devil Eye Nefarious Monarch had swallowed Paragon Blood Insect whole. He had long heard that the region ruled by Jie Zhu was cruel and indifferent. However, seeing was believing. Khan is crazy. Star. Chapter 895. Inside the Golden Eclipse Kingdom's palace, plate after plate of delicacies were served. The Golden Eclipse Heavenly King and Dongwu Shuang sat facing each other. Behind Dongwu Shuang was Yun Ping. At this moment, Yun Ping was still feeling uneasy and terrified. The Golden Eclipse King naturally emitted an aura of suppression that was too terrifying. It was not deliberately emitted, but rather released naturally. Furthermore, Yun Ping's current state of mind was unstable. Who exactly is this Elder Dongbo? It seems that the Golden Eclipse King treats him with great importance, and Devil-Eye Nefarious Monarch actually ate his disciple, Paragon Blood Insect, to make amends. I've never seen him before. Among all the powerful beings I know, there shouldn't be anyone who's qualified to befriend this Elder Dongbo. He was uneasy. However, he didn't know that his martial uncle, who cared about him the most, had gotten lucky and obtained the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core and invited Dongwu Shuang. Please, my Golden Eclipse country is only average, but in terms of delicacies, haha, there are not many places in the 7-star oceanic sacred world that can compare to mine. The Golden Eclipse Heavenly King said. In the Devour-type cultivation system, the higher one's talent was, the more demanding they would be when it came to eating. As a result, although Jiezu's territory was chaotic and brutal, the delicacies there were indeed amazing. Many weak cultivators were forced to study delicacies. It's not bad. Dongwu Shuang would occasionally eat some. I've heard that Elder Dongbo's dark plane is extremely formidable. Can I have a look at it? The Golden Eclipse Monarch chuckled. Dongwu Shuang didn't think much of it. He knew that the other party didn't have any ill intentions. It was just that this was the custom of the region under Jiezu's rule. They believed in absolute power. Golden Eclipse Heavenly King, the array within your palace is rather stable. Dongwu Shuang looked at an enormous stone sculpture outside the palace door. The material of that stone sculpture was ordinary, but under the protection of the entire royal palace's arrays, even a 5th-level star pagoda expert would have a hard time injuring this stone sculpture. Dongwu Shuang waved his hand lightly. Hua hua hua, the dark world descended from the illusory to the real world, enveloping the stone statue. The layers of the dark world naturally absorbed the power of the world around it, forming a whirlpool of power of the world. The Golden Eclipse Monarch's eyelids twitched. He could feel the terror of the dark world. Pun! This world of darkness had a total of 360 levels. When all of them exploded out, the quantitative change led to a qualitative change. The destructive power instantly destroyed the spell formation and struck the stone statue. With a low rumble, the stone statue turned into nothingness. The Golden Eclipse Monarch was shocked. Dongwu Shuang is so powerful. Although most of the strong cultivators in Jiezu's territory are not good at setting up formations, his palace is a place where he usually rests and cultivates. Therefore, he specially invited a powerful cultivator to help him set up a formation. In terms of setting up arrays, although experts of the laws and profound mystery system were powerful, they were still ranked below the hex cultivators. In terms of arrays and artifact refinement, hex cultivators were ranked first. Although the defense of the place where he usually received guests was not as strong as the place where he rested in seclusion, even he would have to use his full strength to barely penetrate the array. But just now, the array that enveloped the stone statue had been destroyed by the violent power, and the stone statue had been destroyed. This move of his is slightly more powerful than my ultimate move. The Golden Eclipse Monarch was inwardly shocked. This was normal. 600 levels of the Dark World was enough to reach the combat power of the 6th floor of Star Tower. Although the 360 levels were slightly weaker, it was enough to reach the threshold of the 6th floor of Star Tower's combat power. It was enough to intimidate everyone. Impressive, impressive. The Golden Eclipse Monarch said. Elder Dongbo has cultivated for a much shorter period than me. I'm afraid that even I am inferior to Elder Dongbo now. There are many aspects to a battle. It isn't just about offensive power. Dongwu Shuang laughed. The Golden Eclipse Monarch has an illustrious battle record. He has truly proven himself through battle after battle. The Golden Eclipse monarch laughed. But he was clear that even if the two of them were at the same level, with Dongwu Shui Ying's cultivation speed, it wouldn't take long for him to leave him in the dust. Following which, the atmosphere between the two of them became even more harmonious. The Golden Eclipse monarch became even more passionate as he served all sorts of delicacies. Clearly, he was sincere in befriending Dongwu Shui Ying. After all, when one's strength reached the level of the Golden Eclipse monarch, his vision wouldn't just stop at the myriad ancient sacred world. He would set his sights on the 5 great sacred worlds and the primal chaos void. There's no need for the Golden Eclipse monarch to send me off. Dongwu Shui Ying laughed. If you're free in the future, you can look for me there when you pass by Greenping sect. You're really related to Greenping sect? The Golden Eclipse monarch, who had personally sent Dongwu Shui Ying out of the city, was slightly shocked. Yunping, who had been following silently by the side, also looked at Dongwu Shui Ying in shock. "MN, I'm acquainted with an expert from Greenping sect. We have an agreement that I'll be guarding Greenping sect for a period of time," Dongwu Shui Ying said. "No wonder." The Golden Eclipse monarch nodded. "If there's an opportunity, I'll definitely head over." It was too troublesome to travel within the sacred world. Even if it was Golden Eclipse King, without any special reason, he would not rush all the way to the Greenping sect just to have a chat with Shui Ying. After all, with his speed, it would take at least a few 100 million years for him to reach Greenping sect from Golden Eclipse Nation. "All right." Dongwu Shui Ying nodded. "See la." Dongwu Shui Ying waved his hand, tearing out a spatial passage. He then brought Yunping into the spatial passage. Seeing the spatial passage gradually closing up, the Golden Eclipse monarch blinked his eyes. "This Dongwu Shui Ying has such formidable attainments in the spatial domain. He is actually able to tear out a spatial passage?" Usually, this was done by primal chaos realm giants. Naturally, there were those at the Unity realm who specialized in the void aspect who could do it too. But the Golden Eclipse monarch was clearly not one of them. Even though he was powerful, the complex laws and profound mysteries and the Tao of myriad existences that the Hex cultivators cultivated gave him a headache. It was still better to eat and become stronger. Hometown starting Cosmos, within a hall in the Black Fog Sea monarch residence. Dongwu Shui Ying sat on a chair. By the side, there was a puzzled pair of siblings, Dongwu Yu and Dongwu Qiniao. "Kneel down." Dongwu Shui Ying looked at Yunping in front of him, and said. Yunping did not hesitate to kneel down obediently. This was a huge thigh. Even a proud person like the Golden Eclipse monarch admitted that he was inferior. "Because of the agreement, I have to accept you as my disciple," Dongwu Shui Ying indifferently said. "But I, Dongwu Shui Ying, will not easily accept disciples. From today onwards, you shall be an honorary disciple of mine." "Yes, teacher." Yunping immediately kowtowed. Dongwu Shui Ying watched this scene calmly. By the side, Dongwu Yu and Dongwu Qiniao were startled. This was a true god paragon. Their father accepted him as a disciple, yet he was only an honorary disciple? This pair of siblings clearly did not know that with the current strength of Dongwu Shui Ying, if he was willing to accept disciples, many void gods would kneel down and beg to become his disciple. But Dongwu Shui Ying did not care too much about this. After all, he was in existence at the Primal Chaos Realm. His current goal was to step into the Primal Chaos Realm. "Wang," Dongwu Shui Ying casually pointed out, causing a stream of light to fly into the mind of Yunpeng. "This is the rule of my sect, and no one is allowed to violate it. Those who violate it will be severely punished according to the rules," Dongwu Shui Ying said. Yunpeng extended his senses and could not help but feel bitter in his heart. This rule was really strict. It was not easy for a cultivator living in the region governed by Jiezhu to adapt to the rules set by Dongwu Shui Ying. After all, the rules set by Dongwu Shui Ying were much stricter than those set by the Great Void Heaven Temple. The Great Void Heaven Temple was still comparatively too lax. Rest assured. This isn't the myriad ancient sacred world. We are in a cosmos, and this place is more than 10,000 times more peaceful than the myriad ancient sacred world. Dongbui Shuang said. As long as you don't create trouble, nobody will kill you. Who would dare to kill a disciple of Dongbui Shuang in his hometown Cosmos? Furthermore, Yunpeng was a true god paragon. Ah? Yunpeng was slightly stunned. Nobody would kill him if he did not create trouble? There was such a good thing? You Qin Yao, introduce our Cosmos to this junior disciple brother. Dongbui Shuang ordered. Yes, father. Dongbui Qin Yao were slightly excited. They could tell that this new junior disciple brother came from the myriad ancient sacred world. Although they had some understanding of the outside world from their father, it was still too little. Junior disciple brother, quick, follow us. Let me treat you to a drink. Dongbui Qin Yao and Dongbui Yu were very enthusiastic. Yunpeng was not used to it. This was an extremely safe place, yet he had such enthusiastic seniors? He was not used to such an environment. He did not even dare to dream about it. Although the juniors in front of him were slightly weaker. He watched as they left. Dongbui Shuang nodded silently. It's time to settle the Green Ping sect's matters. There was no need to worry about Yunpeng's safety. Guarding and protecting the Green Ping sect was also one of the three matters. Dongbui Shuang did not have the time to waste on such matters. Naturally, he had to settle everything as soon as possible. Chapter 896. Dongbui Shuang once again arrived at the myriad ancient sacred world. To him, going to any place was as easy as breathing. Green Ping sect. Standing in the wilderness, one had to look at the undulating mountain range in the distance. The mountain range ahead was the Green Ping mountain range, where the Green Ping sect was located. The powerful disciples of the Green Ping sect all had very unique bodies, evolving towards the ultimate Green Ping. Thus, they attracted the greed of many devour-type cultivators, who would often ambush and eat them. In order not to be eaten, the Green Ping sect had to become stronger. Fortunately, the legacy of the Green Ping sect was imprinted on the Green Ping mountain range. Although the sect had been destroyed many times in history, new cultivators would come to this mountain range, learn the legacy, and establish the Green Ping sect once again. Dongbui Shuang directly walked forward. Hua! Step by step, Dongbui Shuang traversed tens of thousands of li with each step. Moreover, he was getting higher and higher as he approached the Green Ping mountain range. Who? This is the Green Ping sect. If you want to ascend the mountain, you have to walk up from the foot of the mountain. The disciples of Green Ping sect who were guarding the mountain could see a figure teleporting with every step he took. He was getting closer and closer. Even though Shuang was releasing an unseen pressure, they still angrily shouted out. Because after so many years, they all understood one thing: when facing an enemy, one had to use strength to conquer them. This was the iron law of this boundless land. Humph! Dongbui Shuang extended his right hand, and a black gourd appeared in his hand. He then pulled out the stopper of the black gourd. South! A fireball flew out, and after flying out, it rapidly grew in size, turning into a huge blazing star with a diameter of 1,000,000 li. The flames on its surface surged, and its might was majestic, causing all the experts of the Green Ping sect to be frightened. One by one, they rushed out. What's going on? Why is there such a huge fluctuation? This might. The experts of the Green Ping sect rushed out from their residences and seclusion grounds, and raised their heads to look at the sky. The massive flaming star emitted waves of heat that caused everyone's expressions to change. It was even more dazzling than the sun in the sky, and its existence even began to affect the operation of the surrounding laws. There were hazy ripples on the surface of the flaming star's heat waves, and countless void divine runes were also rippling, instantly invading the entire Green Ping mountain range below. The flaming star descended slightly, causing the entire protective array in the entire mountain range to tremble and distort. Pooh-pah! The arrays of the Green Ping sect were far weaker than those of the Golden Eclipse Nation. They could barely resist against 4th-level Star Pagoda experts. Under the power of the fireball from the black gourd, just a small portion of its power was enough to cause these arrays to crumble. This made the experts of the Green Ping sect anxious. Suddenly, the black gourd fireball came to a halt. A white-robed young man walked over. With a wave of his right hand, the massive flaming star rapidly shrank, turning into a small fireball the size of an egg. The fireball spun above the white-robed young man's palm. "Who is that?" They were all a little scared. Dongbush Shuang looked down. The unseen ripples from the plate ripple diagram enveloped the area below. Within moments, it had restricted all the experts of the Green Ping sect, including an expert who seemed low profile and unremarkable yet was the strongest at the 4th level Star Pagoda strength. That yellow-haired old man had a huge change in expression. He was struggling, but under the influence of the plate ripple diagram, it was taxing for him to struggle. He understood that even if he could barely struggle, his strength had been suppressed to just 10% to 20%, and it was easy for the other party to kill him. After executing the plate ripple diagram to suppress and restrict them, Dongbush Shuang released the restriction, allowing them to regain their freedom. These Green Ping sect experts felt the terrifying restriction disappear, and they were slightly startled. "Listen up." Dongbush Shuang looked down at the entire Green Ping mountain range. "From today onwards, I will be the Taoist elder of the Green Ping sect. Is there anyone who has any objections?" His voice was grand and mighty. It reverberated across the world and by the ears of every disciple of the Green Ping sect. All the disciples of the Green Ping sect were stunned. Following that, they revealed a look of wild joy. "Greetings, Taoist elder." At that moment, there were disciples who directly knelt down. Very soon, throughout the entire Green Ping mountain range, countless disciples also knelt down. "Greetings, Taoist elder." All the experts of the Green Ping sect were incomparably excited. Dongbush Shuang sighed inwardly. If this was the 7-star oceanic sacred world, there would probably be some disciples who would rather die than to fight. However, this was the region ruled by Jiazhu in the 10,000 ancient sacred world. After countless years, this place had unabashedly believed in strength. Furthermore, although there were many in the Green Ping sect who cultivated the Green Ping legacy, there were also many other ancient cultivator legacies. After all, ancient cultivators depended on talent. Not everyone was suitable for the Green Ping legacy. In addition, this land was too chaotic. This caused the ancient cultivators to form groups. The Green Ping sect was actually formed with the cultivators who inherited the Green Ping legacy as the core. After that, it attracted a large number of other ancient cultivators to form a group. The reason why they formed groups was because of survival. If a super expert were to descend and become their Taoist elder, they would laugh even in their dreams. Because this signified safety. Safety was something that countless cultivators in this land yearned for. And did Dongbush Shuang have any ill intentions? They did not care. Because Dongbush Shuang had used his previous techniques to prove one point. As long as he was willing, he could destroy the entire Green Ping sect in an instant. He could trample on them however he wanted. There was no need for him to play any tricks. That was also the reason why Dongbush Shuang revealed his tyrannical strength the moment he arrived. If he did not reveal his strength, why would everyone in the Green Ping sect respect Dongbush Shuang as their Taoist elder? In the main hall of the Green Ping sect, Dongbush Shuang sat at the highest position in the main hall. Even the sect master had to stand by the side. Below him were many experts and disciples of the Green Ping sect. "The arrays of the Green Ping sect are too weak," Dongbush Shuang coldly said. "From today onwards, I will reconstruct the arrays and control the array techniques. Gu Shang, Bei Zhou, I will impart them to the two of you. The two of you will control one protection array each." "Yes." Gu Shang was the sect master of the Green Ping sect. He was at the 3rd level Star Pagoda strength. He immediately acknowledged the order. And the other old man with messy yellow hair was called Bei Zhou. He lived in seclusion within the Green Ping sect and did not listen to orders. He was originally the strongest in the Green Ping sect. At this moment, he obediently acknowledged the order. "If there is anyone who can break through the arrays, immediately send a transmission to me," Dongbush Shuang ordered. "I will usually enter closed-door cultivation." Occasionally, I will go out for a walk. If there isn't a huge matter, don't come and disturb me." Saying that, Dongbu Shuang stood up and left. All the experts in the Green Ping sect were slightly stunned. In the following days, Dongbu Shuang did his best to construct the arrays. One array could be sensed by ordinary disciples. It was a warning array that was constructed using the profound mysteries of the plate ripple diagram as the core. And another array was a mirage array that could cause enemies to fall into an illusory realm. And the final array was a killing array. It was created according to the apocalyptic fifth sword. If the array could not hold on, Dongbu Shuang would naturally appear. "What's going on? Isn't this Grand Elder's temper too weird?" Gu Shang and Bei Zhou stood outside a cave abode in a daze. Dongbu Shuang cultivated in this cave abode. Usually, he forbade disciples from disturbing him. "Who cares?" Sect head Gu Shang grinned and said, "This Grand Elder seems to have chosen our Green Ping sect as his place of seclusion. Moreover, he doesn't seem to like trivial matters. As long as it doesn't involve a huge matter, we will not disturb him. With such a super expert around, ha ha ha, our Green Ping sect will have good days in the future. I am really looking forward to those devils coming to provoke our Green Ping sect again. At that time, I can also control the killing array to show its might." He controlled the killing array of the three great arrays. Once it was activated, the sword light would descend with an abnormally terrifying might. The yellow-haired elder had circles of pupils in his eyes. He nodded as well. "There are many experts with strange tempers. Our Green Ping sect is lucky to have such an expert here. You must instruct the disciples in charge of taking orders in the surroundings not to anger the Grand Supreme Elder." "That's natural." Sect head Gu Shang nodded. At the same time, he thought in his heart. This expert was willing to become the Grand Elder of Green Ping sect because of the imprint of the Green Ping mountain range. The Green Ping inheritance was indeed mystical. It was imprinted on the mountain range. Even if the mountain range was destroyed, it would protrude over time. The inheritance would never be destroyed. In history, there were some primal chaos giants who personally came to observe this inheritance. But it was rare for someone to become the Grand Elder because of this. After all, with Dongbu Ying's terrifying strength, nobody dared to stop him from viewing the inheritance. Chapter 897. The experts of the Green Ping sect thought that this terrifying Taoist elder was in closed-door cultivation. But in reality, Dongbu Ying had stealthily returned to his hometown cosmos from the Green Ping sect. With the three arrays I have constructed, the Green Ping sect should be fine. Even if there is trouble, I can rush over immediately. Dongbu Ying nodded inwardly. That time, I promised to do three things. Accepting a disciple, protecting Yunping and guarding the Green Ping sect are simple. I just need to spend some time. Only the third matter is slightly troublesome. The two commanders of the Chief Devil Cliff. Dongbu Ying pondered. Chief Devil Cliff. The reputation of the myriad ancient sacred world was not any weaker than that of the Golden Eclipse Nation. The two commanders of Chief Devil Cliff were recorded clearly in the intelligence report of the Great Void Heaven Temple that they were at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. With this level of strength, the place where they usually stayed and cultivated would definitely be heavily guarded. Their imaginary enemies would likely be primal Chaos Realm giants. Because the two of them did not fear 5th level Star Pagoda experts of the same level. The base was constructed for the sake of defending against powerful enemies and escaping. Even though Dongbu Ying was confident, he was not certain that he could kill two 5th level Star Pagoda experts in the base of the enemy. If he killed his way over, he would likely be obstructed by the arrays the other party had constructed over a long period of time. Even if the other party could not kill him, they could escape unhurriedly. If he failed the first time, it would be hard to find another opportunity. The array he constructed in the Green Ping sect was so powerful. If it was for the sake of preserving their lives, the two commanders of Chief Devil Cliff would likely buy an array constructed by a primal chaos giant and place it in their territory. But with the treasures they had, they could only afford a fixed array. Like movable arrays, they were much more expensive than fixed arrays, and the difficulty of refining them was much higher. Similarly, a fixed array that could defend against 6th-level star pagoda experts would require 300 origin world rocks. And an array that could be brought along and used at any time would cost at least 3,000 origin world rocks. The deal back then was to kill the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff and set a time limit of 100 billion years. I have enough time. Only a fool would barge into their nest. Dongbua Shuang naturally had a plan. Just like the opponent he met in Emperor Julian's treasure trove, the Undying City Master. It was fortunate that they were in the treasure trove and the Undying City Lord had nowhere to run to. Otherwise, given the other party's cloning technique, he could have easily escaped through space and fled in different directions. No matter how strong Dongbua Shuang was, he would only be able to chase after the Undying City Lord. Of course. Currently, Dongbua Shuang had reached the My Heart as the Heaven State, and his strength was a level higher than when he was in Emperor Julian's treasure. Even if it was in the wilderness, he was confident that he could kill the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff. Through the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion, Dongbua Shuang decided to inform him when the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff left their lair. Without the geographical advantage of their lair, Dongbua Shuang was still confident. Experts of the laws and profound mysteries system might enter seclusion for 10 billion years. Hex cultivators might also enter seclusion for 10 billion or even 100 billion years. But the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff love to devour and kill. They don't have the patience to enter seclusion for too long. Dongbua Shuang understood the other party's intelligence. The 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff would usually not stay in their lair for too long before going out to devour and kill. Time passed year after year. The wind blew and the flowers fell. The ground was filled with beautiful purple and red petals. Dongbua Shuang sat beside a tree and watched as a petal floated down and landed in his cup. He could not help but raise his head and look at the distant palace hall. That was the palace hall where his wife was in seclusion. It had been more than 7 million years, but his wife had yet to transcend. Transcending might be an instant, or she might be stuck for a long time. But after consuming the Scarlet Cloud pomegranate core, my wife's cultivation state should be extremely good. It should be much better than having an epiphany. Why hasn't she broken through after so long? Dongbua Shuang thought. He then raised his head and drank another cup of wine. His slightly restless heart regained its calmness. With his cultivation heart, there were few things that could make his heart restless. But when it involved his wife transcending, it would always make his heart flustered. Elder Dongbua, the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff have set off. Their destination should be Resistance Wind City. The intelligence from 7-star Oceanic Pavilion came. Dongbua Shuang's eyes brightened. Even though the intelligence from 7-star Oceanic Pavilion was expensive, it was very efficient. Dongbua Shuang took a step before arriving at the distant starry sky. The space within the starry sky warped, and he disappeared from the vicinity. Myriad Ancient Sacred World, Resistance Wind City. Resistance Wind City was a relatively peaceful city. Even though the Resistance Wind City Master was merely at the 4th level Star Pagoda strength, he was famous for his survival capabilities. He even called himself Resistance Wind. Even the name of the city was Resistance Wind. The moment he transformed his body into the wind, even experts at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength could not injure him at all. Because he was hard to deal with, few organizations dared to offend the Resistance Wind City he created. Within a courtyard within the Resistance Wind City, a white-robed Dongbua Shuang was currently sitting cross-legged on a praying mat with his eyes closed. He was currently comprehending and cultivating. He's finally here. Dongbua Shuang suddenly opened his eyes. He looked up at the sky. I've been waiting for 30,000 years in Resistance Wind City. The other party was quite fast in traveling. Because the second leader of the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff could tear a spatial passage to travel. Hong! Very soon, a distorted spatial maelstrom appeared in the space. 2 figures flew out from the spatial maelstrom. Of the 2 of them, One was covered in black armor. He had a majestic body, and the surface of his armor was rolling with a sinister black aura. His pair of blood eyes looked downwards, emitting an unseen pressure that suppressed down below. Many cultivators who were affected by this unseen pressure were directly exterminated. Even many houses were directly destroyed like gravel. Within 1,000 miles of the black-armored figure, everything was annihilated and turned into nothingness. Even beyond 1,000 miles, many lives had died. He was the great leader of Chief Devil Cliff, Black Chief Devil. He was also the founder of Chief Devil Cliff and was infamous. 80% of Chief Devil Cliff's infamy was due to him. The other was an unremarkable figure by the side. He was the second leader, Monarch Chihu. Monarch Chihu's figure was blurred like a strand of shadow in the world. Black Chief Devil, Monarch Chihu! Over 10 figures instantly flew up from the City Lord mansion of the Resistance Wind City. The one leading was a handsome purple-robed young man. He was the Resistance Wind City Lord. His face was filled with unconcealable anger. Starting a massacre in my city. Why? Do you really want to start a war with me? Although he was slightly weaker, his survivability and escaping abilities were extremely strong. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. Humph. Monarch Chihu's voice was sharp. Resistance Wind, if it was during normal times, Big Brother and I wouldn't be bothered to come here. You brat, if you can't win, you would escape and even take revenge. But now, Big Brother and I are very patient to play with you. Now we will give you 2 choices. First, hand over the stone mirror. Second, we will kill you and obtain the stone mirror. Resistance Wind City Lord's expression changed slightly. What stone mirror? Who did you hear it from? I don't even know what the stone mirror is. While he was speaking, he had already activated the enormous array that he had set up in the entire Resistance Wind City. A dazzling golden light shot up into the sky from various parts of the city. The devils from the Chief Devil Cliff are here. Everyone, flee for your lives. Resistance Wind City Lord's voice reverberated throughout every single part of the city. However, he had already transformed into a gust of wind and fled noiselessly. He didn't have any wishful thinking because the other party had mentioned the name Stone Mirror. Clearly, they knew that he had this treasure. This treasure was the crux of his ancient cultivation. How could he be willing to give it to others? As for this city in his heart, it wasn't even worth a 10,000th of the Stone Mirror. Chapter 898. Run! Chief Devil Cliff? Run for our lives! The entire Resistance Wind City was in a state of panic. Although the 2 chiefs of Chief Devil Cliff were powerful, the laws of the 5 sacred worlds were too powerful. Once they were far away, ordinary experts would not be able to see clearly and would not know what was happening. But the City Lord's voice transmission through the array had reverberated everywhere, allowing everyone to know of it. Chief Devil Cliff's reputation was too great. Amidst the countless cultivators that were fleeing, Dongbu Shuang was already standing on a street that was 10,000 miles away from the 2 chiefs of Chief Devil Cliff. His gaze landed on the Black Chief Devil who was leading the group. With a thought, the dark world descended from the void and enveloped that Black Chief Devil. Black Chief Devil and Monarch Chihu did not place the others in Resistance Wind City in their eyes. Their target was only one, Resistance Wind City Lord. Traversing through the void to escape? The array that enveloped the entire city was activated, causing the void to tremble and the aura to become chaotic. Resistance Wind City Lord also took the chance to flee through the void. However, Monarch Chihu sneered. He was someone who could tear a spatial tunnel at the Unity Realm. He could easily chase after him. Furthermore, they had prepared a unique treasure for this operation. Although they were conversing earlier, the 2 of them had already executed their unique treasures and branded their imprints on the body of Resistance Wind City Lord. No matter how Resistance Wind City Lord fled, the 2 of them would definitely be able to catch up to him. We must obtain the stone mirror. Chase! Black Chief Devil and Monarch Chihu immediately moved. But suddenly, the surroundings quietened down. The dark world descended from the void and enveloped Black Chief Devil. There were a total of 600 layers of membrane in this dark world. With so many layers of dark world stacking on top of each other, the surrounding laws were starting to be affected. Black Chief Devil and Monarch Chi Hu revealed looks of astonishment. Black Chief Devil's blood-red eyes were filled with hesitation. Ping! 600 layers of dark world were destroyed. Black Chief Devil had completely endured this terrifying might. Is that him? Monarch Chi Hu had already scouted the surroundings and his gaze instantly landed on the white-robed young man 10,000 miles away. Dongbu Shuang was also looking at Monarch Chi Hu. Their gazes met and a smile appeared on Dongbu Shuang's face. I've long heard that the two leaders of Chief Devil Cliff are quite strong and have killed countless people. Today, I'm here to experience for myself and send the two of you to your deaths. Accompanied by a roar. More than half of the Black Chief Demon's body was destroyed, and his armor was broken. However, it was growing rapidly, and his head was the first to form. His blood-red eyes stared at Dongbu Shuang, filled with fear. I was too careless, too careless. With such an attack, I'm afraid it would only take a few more hits to kill me. He didn't die? Dongbu Shuang furrowed his brows. In order to prevent his enemies from dodging the attack, he did not use the Blade of Sky punishment. Instead, he used the multilayered World of Darkness. This was because after the multilayered World of Darkness descended, it would directly envelop the enemy. It was a move that could not be dodged at all. As for the Blade of Sky punishment, even though its power was stronger, and he could use 3 of them at the same time, the Blade of Sky punishment could be blocked and dodged. According to his estimations, the multilayered World of Darkness should be able to kill Black Chief Demon in one move. But in reality, the defenses of the other party were stronger than expected. Second brother, let's work together! Black Chief Demon was completely infuriated. Alright, kill! Monarch Chi Hu's eyes were filled with killing intent. They were not in a rush to chase after Resistance Wind City Master because Resistance Wind City Master already had an imprint on his body. They would be able to chase after him later on, so it was better to eliminate this person first. Many silk strands flew out from the surface of Monarch Chi Hu's body. These translucent silk strands wrapped around Dongbu Shuang. A great blade appeared in Black Chief Demon's hand as he charged over furiously. Being able to resist against 600 layers of dark world, Black Chief Demon's close combat skills were extremely terrifying. Furthermore, he had the domain of Monarch Chi Hu. Most 5th-level Star Pagoda experts could not resist against it. Humph! The distant Dongbu Shuang snorted coldly. Those incoming silk strands were all blocked. In terms of domain techniques, Monarch Chi Hu cultivated in the ancient cultivation, but Dongbu Shuang cultivated in the plate ripple diagram. When comparing the two, it was clear that Dongbu Shuang's plate ripple diagram was stronger by a level. Black Chief Demon was slightly startled. How is this possible? Usually, he would have the support of his domain to kill in all directions. But now, his second brother's domain was being suppressed? Hong hong hong! At the same time the surging ripples were blocking against those silk strands, they were also suppressing Black Chief Demon, causing him to feel as though he had fallen into a swamp. Black Chief Demon, it is better for you to die. Dongbu Shuang coldly looked at the other party. Hua! 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 The 3 huge illusory worlds dissipated, turning into 3 dazzling blades. These 3 dazzling blades descended from the illusory world into reality, causing the world energy to ripple and form a surging maelstrom. But at the moment when the blades completely condensed, the surroundings became silent. The energy ripples in the space were completely suppressed. The countless silk strands controlled by Monarch Chi Hu were suppressed even more. Sky punishment edges. 3 sky punishment edges slashed towards Black Chief Devil from 3 different directions. Black Chief Devil's expression completely changed. Monarch Chi Hu, who was beside him, also felt his heart trembling. The two of them could feel the threat brought by the sky punishment edges. They understood that dodging the sky punishment edges was very difficult, and it would be even more difficult to survive after being slashed by them. My body will definitely not be able to withstand it. Black Chief Demon understood this point. Hence, he did not dare to hesitate this time. He gritted his teeth and activated his protective treasure. One could see a faint white light enveloping Black Chief Demon. Hong hong hong. 3 consecutive sky punishment edges struck Black Chief Demon. The white light on the surface of Black Chief Demon's body trembled slightly before returning to normal. He stood perfectly fine in midair without a trace of injury. But Black Chief Demon did not have a trace of joy on his face. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and anger. I have finally been exposed. Black Chief Demon sighed inwardly. What? Dongbu Shuang, who was standing on the street with confidence, could not conceal the shock on his face. If the darkness bubble was said to have a restrictive effect, then the sky punishment edges were purely offensive. Its offensive power was even stronger than the Black Gourd's fireball. A total of 3 sky punishment edges. Even if he had cultivated the Void Walker to the 40th level and was able to use the Mirage to protect his life, he would still lose his life if he was struck by 3 sky punishment edges. The other party withstood it? Looking at the faint white light on the surface of Black Chief Demon's body, Dongbu Shuiying's heart surged with waves. Protective treasure? He had a protective treasure too. It was a protective talisman that was bestowed upon him as an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple. This was personally refined by Forefather Tianyu. The moment it was activated, he could even withstand a primal Chaos Realm giant for a period. This period was sufficient for the experts of the Great Void Heaven Temple to save him. But such a treasure was very precious. After all, its defensive power was extremely high. If one wanted to buy it, it would usually cost 2,000 to 3,000 Origin World Rocks. But how could ordinary 5th-level Star Pagoda experts afford it? Hence, those who had it would usually have a huge superpower backing them. Black Chief Demon isn't under Jiazu. Dongbu Shuang thought. On the surface, he doesn't belong to any superpower. There were 2 outcomes. First, Black Chief Demon was extremely lucky and obtained a protective treasure by chance. Or he spent a huge sum of Origin World Rocks to buy a protective treasure. Second, Black Chief Demon was secretly relying on a huge superpower. And he was bestowed it in the dark. Usually, it was the 2 great religions who did not dare to publicize it. Hence, the moment such experts were discovered in the 3 great sacred worlds, they would immediately dispatch experts to investigate. They would check if there were any imprints on their souls. If there were none, then it was fine. The moment they discovered members of the 2 great religions, they would usually be killed without mercy. Star. Chapter 899. Kill the 2 leaders of Chief Devil Cliff. The reason why Dongbu Shuang agreed to this deal was because, according to the information, the other party wasn't from a major power. Under a sacred land. For example, Great Void Heaven Temple, Primogenitor Island, Jade Light's Sacred Territory, Blade Emperor City, etc. Firstly, they would be bestowed with protective treasures. If they couldn't kill the other party instantly, they would be able to activate the protective treasure. During the short period of time when the protective treasure was activated, the major powers would immediately send their experts over through ultra-long-distance teleportation. If they angered the major powers, it was possible that the final realm existences would personally come to kill them. Secondly, if they managed to kill someone with a huge background, they wouldn't let it go so easily. Like the time when Dongbu Shuang was assassinated, the Great Void Heaven Temple immediately investigated it. Ultimately, Myriad World Tavern Lord's unfathomable strength obstructed the investigation. Only then did the matter drop. Even my Great Void Heaven Temple's information did not discover any major power behind Black Chief Devil and the rest. They didn't discover any protective treasure either. Dongbu Shuang thought, but now, Black Chief Devil suddenly used a protective treasure. More importantly, when I attacked the first time, the 600 layers of Dark World, Black Chief Devil took the risk of blocking it with his body without using any protective treasure. As long as one's strength wasn't weak, they would be able to see the terrifying might of the 600 layers of Dark World. But Black Chief Devil didn't use it the first time. Why? If the origin of the protective treasure is so righteous, why didn't he use it the first time? Dongbu Shuang thought, to be so secretive, there is an 80 to 90% chance that he is from one of the two great religions. I really didn't expect that I would actually meet such a big fish. Dongbu Shuiying's eyes lit up. By the side, Monarch Chi, who was also slightly stunned. He looked at Black Chief Devil, who was glowing with a faint light. This was his life and death brother, but he didn't know that Black Chief Devil actually had a protective treasure. He hid it from me too. And when facing the first attack, he chose to block it with his body without using any protective treasure. This time, he knew that he would die if he didn't block it, so he activated his protective treasure? Why are you so cautious? Are you from the two great religions? Monarch Chi, who felt a chill in his heart. Even though he had a ferocious reputation and was a great devil in the myriad ancient sacred world, he was still a devil that could dominate a region. But when it involved the two great sects, he was terrified. That was because the high and mighty Jiezu and Wuzu didn't care about them at all. Jiezu allowed the people under his command to fight and kill each other. But if they were members of the two great sects, Jiezu wouldn't show the slightest bit of mercy. Against the two great sects, the three great sacred worlds would definitely stand together. Whoosh! Monarch Chi, who no longer had the will to fight. He did not hesitate to flee. However, under the suppression of the plate ripple diagram, Dongbu Shuang immediately discovered his movements. Whoosh! Whoosh! With a thought, Dongbu Shuang sent out another 3 sky punishment edges, enveloping Monarch Chi, who from different directions. Hua, Monarch Chi, whose body was originally blurry like a shadow. At this moment, this shadow suddenly transformed into a surging stream of water. Hong hong hong! The 3 sky punishment edges slashed through this surging stream of water. Even though the stream of water was slashed into pieces, it easily merged together and escaped. This scene caused Dongbu Shuiying's eyes to shrink. What a powerful survival technique! He was too low profile. Chief Devil Cliff had 2 leaders. The big leader was extremely famous while the second leader was much more low profile. Usually, the second leader would only display his domain to help the big leader. Even though the intelligence did mention that Monarch Chi, whose survival techniques were amazing, as to how amazing, there were no detailed descriptions. Because Monarch Chi, who had never met an opponent on the level of Dongbu Shuiying. Thus, he had never fully displayed his survival techniques. He actually withstood the sky punishment edges. His survival techniques are much stronger than mine, Dongbu Shuiying exclaimed. Void walkers who were proficient in voidification might be good at survival, but they would definitely not be able to withstand 3 sky punishment edges. Who? Monarch Chi, whose speed was fast. After flying to a distance, he tore a spatial passage apart. Dongbu Shuiying watched from afar and did not destroy the spatial passage. Even if he destroyed it, the other party could escape even further. Dongbu Shuiying still had to pay attention to Black Chief Devil. With such formidable survival techniques, the two great religions should not have controlled this second leader, right? Dongbu Shuiying guessed. The stronger a cultivator was, the more he would resist being controlled by the two great religions. After all, they were being controlled from the soul. From then on, they would lose their sense of self and become loyal soldiers of the two great religions. It was still relatively easy for the ancient sacred religion and ancestor mother religion to control Black Chief Devil. After all, Black Chief Devil's combat style was more direct. As for Monarch Chi Hu, his domain, survival, and escaping abilities, it was much harder to control him. But there will definitely be experts under Jie Zhu to investigate Monarch Chi Hu, Dongbu Shuiying thought. Even though many thoughts flashed through his mind, they only lasted for a moment. Dongbu Shuiying turned his gaze towards Black Chief Devil. Black Chief Devil was still trying to escape, yet under the influence of the plate ripple diagram, he was pulled out after tunneling through the void. Protective treasure? Let me see how long this protective treasure can last. Dongbu Shuiying coldly laughed. The sky punishment edges descended once again. 3 sky punishment edges directly bombarded the body of Black Chief Devil. In the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world, within the great void heaven temple. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, I am Dongbush Shuiying. I have discovered an expert in the myriad ancient sacred world called Black Chief Devil. I suspect that he is a member of the 2 great religions. Dongbush Shuiying transmitted over. I am currently in the Resistance Wind City. The silver-haired inquisitive Sky Hall Master sat on his throne. His black eyes were looking at the void. Separated by an endless distance, he was able to see the myriad ancient sacred world, the Resistance Wind City, and that battle. You suspect that he is a member of the 2 great religions just because of his protective treasure? Could it be a protective treasure that he obtained by chance or bought? Inquisitive Sky Hall Master was carefully observing that Black Chief Devil. At the same time, he was able to investigate the identity of Black Chief Devil through the internal intelligence of the Great Void Heaven Temple. He was an expert at the 5th level Star Pagoda's strength. In the past, he has never revealed himself. My Great Void Heaven Temple did not discover anything at all. That is not normal. Previously, he even took the risk of using his body to resist. I am more than 80% certain that he is a member of the 2 great religions. Dongbush Shuiying transmitted over. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master was observing Black Chief Devil. But closely following that, he noticed the sky punishment edges that were attacking Black Chief Devil. This is? With Inquisitive Sky Palace Master's eyesight, even though he was watching from afar and was unable to truly feel the might of the heavenly punishment edge, he was still able to sense it. Inquisitive Sky Palace Master was able to deduce that the Black Chief Demon had been forced to activate his protective treasure, and that the heaven punishment edge had caused the surrounding spatial energy to freeze time and time again. Moreover, he knew that Dongbush Shuiying had cultivated that dark world. Naturally, he quickly guessed that this was the 2nd style of the world of darkness, Heaven Punishment Edge. Dongbush Shuiying has mastered Heaven Punishment Edge. 6th level Star Pagoda Strength? Dongbush Shuiying reached the 6th level Star Pagoda Strength. The Inquisitive Sky Palace Master's heart rumbled. In his opinion, this was even more pleasant surprise than discovering a spy from the 2 great sections. After all, although the Great Void Heaven Temple had produced some very powerful experts in its history, some had fallen, and some had become temple masters. But currently, this batch of Inner Hall elders were all at the 5th level Star Pagoda. This was one of the regrets of the Great Void Heaven Temple. But now, there was a 6th level Star Pagoda expert among the Inner Hall elders? Sky Punishment Edge. That's right, it is the Sky Punishment Edge. This level of power is unquestionable. Inquisitive Sky Palace Master carefully observed from afar. The more he observed, the brighter his eyes became. Chapter 900. Forefather, Elder Dong Bo has already reached the 6th level Star Pagoda Strength. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master immediately reported this matter upwards. He also informed Jie Zhu about how Black Chief Devil was suspected to be a member of the 2 great religions. After all, this matter involved the 2 great religions, and the 3 great sacred worlds were relatively united. Dongbush Shuiying? Forefather Tianyu was slightly startled. Right, he is currently in the myriad ancient sacred world. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master explained everything in detail. Ha ha ha, that time when he was a true god ruler, he grasped the apocalyptic second sword. I knew his future was boundless. And now, he has reached such an achievement. His comprehension ability in the Tao of Mirage is even higher than the Tao of Slaughter. Forefather Tianyu was in a good mood. He had established the Great Void Heaven Temple, and was doing his best to nurture the disciples under him. Naturally, he was happy to meet someone with sufficient talent. For him to have such strength at the Unity Realm, he would likely reach the 8th level Star Pagoda strength in the future when he stepped into the Primal Chaos Realm. It was even possible for him to reach the 9th level strength. The gap between Primal Chaos giants was huge. Weaklings could only reach the 6th level, and veterans like Heaven Weeping Sect Master could reach the 7th level. Experts like Inquisitive Sky Hall Master could reach the 8th level. The 8th level was also the limit of ordinary Primal Chaos experts. To reach the 9th level, the difficulty was comparable to reaching the 7th level at the Unity Realm. In the entire Great Void Heaven Temple, there was only one Primal Chaos expert who reached the 9th level, Primal Chaos Hall Master. He had even reached the level of a final realm existence in terms of offensive power. Reaching this stage with a Primal Chaos body was something even Cosmos gods could not do. If he wanted to deal against Heaven Weeping Sect Master, he could simply kill him in a single move. The gap of 2 levels in the Star Pagoda's strength was a gap that could sweep through all enemies. Of course, there was another Primal Chaos giant who transcended logic. He was Luo's City Lord. The Star Pagoda was created by Lord Lo-Ching, and a large number of Cosmos gods were suppressed by this Primal Chaos giant, Lord Lo-Ching. Naturally, there were also Blade Emperor, Wu Zu, Jie Zhu, and a few others who could suppress Lord Lo-Ching. I wonder when this brat will reach the Primal Chaos realm. Forefather Tian Yu's incarnation appeared at the side. He was also watching the battle through the void image that Inquisitive Sky Hall Master had projected. With his speed, I believe it will be very soon, the Inquisitive Sky Palace Master said. It's not that easy. It is very difficult to cross realms. The difficulty of stepping into the Primal Chaos realm is much higher than the bottlenecks he encountered in the past. Forefather Tian Yu said. There were those who were at the 6th level of the Unity realm and had been stuck there for a long time. In the end, he perished. One could see how difficult it was to step into the Primal Chaos realm. But there were only 2 Unity realm 7th level experts in history, and both of them broke through to the Primal Chaos realm. Clearly, to geniuses at this level, breaking through to the Primal Chaos realm was not difficult. The Great Void Heaven Temple was watching from afar, and there were experts from Jie Zhu's side who had received the news as well. They weren't in a hurry to act. They were waiting. Would the 2 great sects send experts to save the Black Chief Demon? In the sky above the Resistance Wind City, the cultivators who were originally fleeing in panic stopped. They were watching the battle from afar. A white-robed young man stood in midair. Many blades appeared from the void and hacked down on the body of the Black Chief Demon who was covered in a faint light. That power made the cultivators tremble from the bottom of their hearts. This was an instinctive tremble. But Dongbush Shuang had relied on the plate ripple diagram to protect the Resistance Wind City below, preventing the shockwaves from the battle. And at this moment, even though the Black Chief Demon had a protective treasure, he could not escape at all. I can't hold on any longer. The Black Chief Demon could feel the energy of the protective treasure on his body being consumed. A look of relief gradually appeared on his face. Even though he understood that the ancient sacred religion did not send any experts to save him, he did not feel resentment. Sacrificing for the Sacred Master was a great honor. Sacred Master. The Black Chief Demon formed a seal with his hands. He called out Sacred Master with a pure and holy expression. His body started dissipating into nothingness. By the side, Dongbush Shuang watched this scene. He waved his hand to keep the treasures left behind by the other party. So he is from the ancient sacred religion. I wonder when he was soul-controlled. Far away in the ancient sacred world, there were also Primal Chaos realm saints watching this scene from afar. They did not send any experts over because they were clear that the Great Void Heaven Temple behind Dongbush Shuang and Jie Zhu from the myriad ancient sacred world would definitely be paying attention to this place. If they went over now, they would be risking their lives. After all, this was the territory of Jie Zhu and Wu Zu. Unless the Sacred Master personally descended, none from the ancient sacred religion could save Black Chief Demon. Dongbush Shuang from the Great Void Heaven Temple has actually reached the strength of the 6th floor of Star Tower. But it seems to be the technique of the Dark World Master in the past. He is quite formidable in terms of offense, but other aspects are ordinary. These saints from the ancient sacred religion did not care about the current Dongbush Shuang. They only felt that if they allowed him to grow, the Great Void Heaven Temple might have another Primal Chaos Realm giant in the future. Such matters were not something the high and mighty sacred master would care about. However, the saints still noticed it. He is growing so fast? Within the palace at the bottom of the lake, the green-robed Saint Wang Ming sat cross-legged in the cultivation room. Many water droplets were floating around him. A smile appeared on his face. Very good. This should make some of the saints in the religion feel threatened, right? Inner hall elders at the 5th level Star Pagoda's strength are very common and not worth mentioning. But reaching the 6th level, when he becomes a primal chaos realm giant, he would at least be at the 8th level. He would be a great enemy of us saints. The ancient sacred world was the biggest among the 5 great sacred worlds. It had the highest number of primal chaos realm giants. But there were naturally differences in strength, and Saint Wang Ming was one of the weaker ones. In terms of strength, he could only be considered at the 6th level Star Pagoda's strength. Compared to Dongbui Shuang, there was a limit to how strong he was. I should find more old fellows to help me. It should be possible for those old fellows to come up with a plan to eradicate this Dongbui Shuang. Saint Wang Ming had always been thinking of how to deal with Dongbui Shuang. His little brother was his most important relative. Now that his little brother was killed by the enemy, how could he not take revenge? Hence, Saint Wang Ming began visiting many saints within the ancient sacred world. He was trying to pull strings and build bridges. He had no choice. It was impossible for him to kill someone at the level of Dongbui Shuang alone. Because Dongbui Shuang would immediately activate his protective treasure the moment he was ambushed and report. Who knew, even Forefather Tianyu might kill his way out. Hence, the moment he acted, he had to come up with a good plan and succeed in one fell swoop. How did those geniuses who got through the 6th level Star Pagoda in history die? Many of them were plotted against by the 2 great religions. Hong Long Long. Outside the Resistance Wind City, a figure appeared in the distorted sky. He was the silver-haired black-skinned male, inquisitive Sky Hall Master. But this was merely an incarnation of his inquisitive Sky Hall Master. Dongbui Shuang saw him from afar. He immediately flew over. Why did Hall Master rush over personally? You have created such a huge trouble. Even though the ancient sacred religion did not save that black chief devil, they are definitely watching in the dark. They have noticed your strength. Even though they might not act against you, my great void heaven temple has no choice but to guard against them. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master said. In history, there have been some with potential in our 3 great sacred worlds who were killed by the ancient sacred religion. Dongbui Shuang felt his heart tightening. He had to be careful. Even though he felt that his survival capabilities were strong, there were many saints within the ancient sacred religion. If they sent someone at the level of Primal Chaos Hall Master, the moment he appeared, he could kill Shuang in a single move. Even his protective treasures would be useless. Shuang might be able to resist against ordinary Primal Chaos giants for a while, but against Primal Chaos Hall Master, it was a joke. After all, even Cosmos gods were limited in strength compared to Primal Chaos Hall Master. Chapter 901. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master threw a storage wristband over and transmitted. Old Ancestor asked me to send this over. It is a good thing for you to roam the myriad ancient sacred world. Wu Zhu and Jia Zhu are both here. You just need to be careful of some treacherous plots. Old Ancestor sent this treasure for you to protect yourself. You can ponder over it. Amen. Dongbui Shuang did not reject and received it. Oh right, Jia Zhu's sect sent news. They investigated the other leader of Chief Devil Cliff, Monarch Chihu, and confirmed that he wasn't a member of the 2 great sections. After interrogating him, there were no problems. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master said. What happened after the interrogation? Kill him? Or release him? Dongbui Shuang asked. Release him. Inquisitive Sky Hall Master smiled. Why? You think that Monarch Chihu should be killed because he killed countless people? What a pity, this is Jia Zhu's territory. Killing and devouring are common here. After Jiezu's sect found no problems with monarch Qihu, they naturally released him. Dongbu Shuang frowned inwardly. If monarch Qihu was killed, then he would have fulfilled his promise. A pity that he was released. He still had to find a chance to deal with monarch Qihu in the future. With monarch Qihu's survivability, it wouldn't be easy to kill him. Out of the three matters of the transaction, only monarch Qihu was hiding in Chief Devil Cliff. After this battle, he would probably not come out for a short period of time. Dongbu Shuang was wandering around myriad ancient sacred world. He was not in a rush to return to his hometown cosmos because the transaction had come to an end. His wife was in closed-door cultivation. He couldn't just wait here like an idiot. Hence, he decided to start his ancient cultivation. With his current strength, cultivating would cause a huge commotion. His hometown cosmos was still too weak. If he was not careful, an epoch might end and the next epoch would be born. Hence, it was better for him to cultivate outside. Ancient cultivation. Dongbu Shuang pondered. This was the most ancient type of cultivation. In the primitive ancient sacred world, the weak living beings wanted to become stronger. They had to learn how to use the power of heaven and earth in the primitive ancient sacred world to nurture their bodies and gradually step onto the path of ancient cultivation. Even after that, there were some outstanding people who created other systems that were widely spread, such as the bloodline cultivation system, the ancestor mother system, the hex cultivation system, the strongest warrior system, and many others. Even so, it was impossible to conceal the amazement of ancient cultivators. Ultra-long-distance teleportation. Observe any part of the primal chaos void of the 5 great sacred worlds. Even after becoming a void god, he could still unleash the avatar technique. Prophecy. Body transformation. Change the past. Reincarnation. There were all sorts of unimaginable abilities that other cultivation systems could not achieve, yet ancient cultivation could. Thus, many powerful cultivators would also cultivate ancient cultivation. This was because ancient cultivation's talent was very important. Without good talent, there was a limit to how much one could cultivate later on. If he was lucky enough to have great talent, he would definitely put in all his effort to cultivate. Awakening my talent, the beginning of transcendence. Dongbu Shuang laid down an alert array deep within a mountain. This array was formed using the mirage, plate ripple diagram, and the profound mysteries of the void. Even primal chaos realm giants who were stronger than him might not be able to match him in the Tao of ripple and mirage. In the aspect of the void, after he could teleport through an ultra-long distance, the alert array could directly permeate through the core of the void. It was too difficult to pass through the alert array stealthily. He then began attempting to cultivate. If he was weak, the first step of ancient cultivation would be easy. Dongbu Shuang was too powerful. His soul and body were too strong. Hence, awakening his talent had become the hardest step. Hong! Dongbu Shuang, who was seated cross-legged, suddenly felt the grand world energy being absorbed into his body. He completely relaxed his body and soul, allowing the world energy to fuse into his body under the spiritual awakening technique. The spiritual awakening technique was also known as the awakening technique, opening heaven technique, and many other names. It was perfected by the earliest generations of ancient cultivation after experiencing many failures. Currently, it was the most mature version. Under the guidance of the spiritual awakening technique, one could more effectively dig out the potential of one's body and soul, ultimately awakening one's strongest talent. Naturally, there were ancient cultivators who awakened more than one talent. Having more talent did not mean one was strong. More importantly, it depended on how far one could walk on the Tao of talent. There were no worries, it was a piece of emptiness. He could not feel his body, and his soul was incomparably relaxed. The range of his senses continued to expand. He sensed the deep mountain forest he was in, and he also sensed the vast grassland outside the deep mountain. His soul's senses continued to expand, and continued to expand in all directions. The range of his soul's senses had far surpassed the range that any secret technique he had used could detect. Even if he used the plate ripple diagram, he would not even be able to reach 1,000th of his current range. However, when using the spiritual awakening technique, one had to be completely immersed in it, digging out the potential of one's soul. At that moment, one's soul would seemingly become one with the world, allowing one to sense an incomparably vast area. It was not suitable for combat. Hua! It was as though a spring had suddenly gushed out from a desolate desert. It was also as though an oil lamp had suddenly lit up in the endless darkness. The hidden potential within Donghua Shui Ying's soul and body had been dug out, forming a complete talent. Who, deep in the mountains, Donghua Shuiying, who had been sitting cross-legged in a wooden house for over 10,000 years, suddenly emitted a faint red aura that spread out in all directions. This aura had a very strong enticement. Once one smelled it, those with a weaker mental state would uncontrollably sink into an illusory realm. Donghua Shuiying slowly opened his eyes. "I've awakened." Donghua Shuiying immediately began to inspect the changes to his soul and body. He could not help but feel a little surprised. Enchantment technique? Both his soul and body had undergone some changes. The aura emitted by his body was extremely enticing, and the aura emitted by his soul was able to naturally lead others into an illusory realm. It did not have any direct combat capabilities. It was purely an illusory technique. Ha! Donghua Shuiying could not help but shake his head and laugh. It seems like I do have some talent in the mirage realm. Even ancient cultivators ended up with such a talent. And men. How should I cultivate next? Donghua Shuiying pondered. Talent was definitely there. He would need to think about his future path. There were many paths, and if he was nurtured well, his strength would naturally increase. This talent is because I am born with the ability to control illusory realms. My soul would also be stronger than others of the same level. Donghua Shuiying nodded. In that case, I shall choose the Cinnabar inheritance. Cinnabar. That was the name of a mutated beast. It was a mutated beast that specialized in controlling illusory realms. The Cinnabar inheritance was an inheritance that Donghua Shuiying discovered amidst the books left behind by Emperor Jueyun. Even though it was considered middle tier, it was the most suitable for him. This inheritance could allow him to reach the primal chaos realm. As for the higher cosmos god? How many cosmos gods were there from the primitive ancient sacred world until now? And how many ancient cultivation inheritances did they have? There were too few ancient cultivation inheritances that could reach the cosmos god realm. He only knew of 3, and they were not suitable for him. Many cosmos gods have opened their own Dao paths. Like Wu Zhu and Ancestor Tsung, even if the Cinnabar inheritance is only at the primal chaos realm, I can still open my own Dao path in the future and raise it to the cosmos god realm. Donghua Shuiying thought. He was quite satisfied with this inheritance. It was most suitable for him, and would help him the most.